Welcome, my night wanderers. Tonight, we soar above Alaska's frozen tundras, hidden valleys, and remote landscapes to explore airfields that are anything but ordinary. Beneath the hum of turbines and the bright runway lights, shadows lurk, echoes of past pilots, forgotten crashes, and restless spirits that refuse to leave. Alaska's airfields are gateways not just to the sky, but to the unknown. Pilots and ground crews alike have reported unseen presences, ghostly figures walking along runways, phantom planes in the distance, and chilling whispers in the control towers. So, fasten your seatbelts, keep your instruments close, and join me as we explore the 25 most haunted airfields in Alaska with eerie pilot encounters. Anchorage International Airport, officially known as Ted Stevens Anchorage International Airport, is a bustling hub for air travel in Alaska. Yet, beneath the hum of engines and the constant flow of passengers lies a chilling and persistent legend. Pilots and ground crews alike have reported strange occurrences that defy explanation, lending the airport a reputation for the paranormal. Even those familiar with its daily operations speak in hushed tones of phantom planes, shadowy figures, and sudden, unexplained sensations that seem to linger in the cold Alaskan air. The most widely reported phenomenon involves ghostly aircraft appearing on empty runways. Pilots recount spotting planes that resemble real aircraft, fully illuminated and taxiing as if ready for takeoff, only to vanish the moment they approach. Some describe seeing the lights of a plane gliding silently across the tarmac, wings shimmering under floodlights, engines roaring, yet producing no vibration or sound that can be felt in the air. As they draw closer, the plane disappears entirely, leaving no tire marks, no disturbance in the snow or asphalt, nothing but an empty runway. These experiences are unnerving, particularly for seasoned pilots accustomed to reading weather patterns, runway conditions, and traffic signals. Yet they are unanimous in their reports. Something inexplicable occupies the runways at night. Ground crews have their own encounters, many involving shadowy figures near the hangars and maintenance areas. These figures are often described as translucent, vaguely human in shape, and dressed in clothing consistent with construction crews or early airport staff. Some workers claim they can see tools being lifted or equipment moving without anyone present, only to find everything back in its original place moments later. There are stories of employees stepping out during quiet shifts to investigate a figure standing silently near a hangar, only to find that it vanishes when approached, leaving behind the sensation of being watched. Many believe these figures are the spirits of workers who died during the airport's construction or in aviation-related accidents over the decades. The airport itself, sprawling across miles of frozen Alaskan landscape, seems to amplify these experiences. Long, empty runways, stretching into darkness, create perfect conditions for optical illusions. Yet even those who have studied the airport extensively admit that the phenomena are difficult to explain. Pilots describe a sense of unease as they taxi across the tarmac at night, noting sudden drops in temperature, flickering lights in hangars, or the faint sound of engines in areas where no planes are present. Ground crews report the feeling of footsteps following them along the edges of runways, accompanied by soft murmurs that vanish as quickly as they appear. The eerie stillness of the night seems to accentuate the presence of something beyond ordinary perception. One of the most famous accounts comes from a veteran pilot who was preparing for a late-night departure. He recalled seeing a fully loaded cargo plane taxiing toward an empty runway. Confident in his training, he radioed air traffic control to inquire about the movement, only to receive the response that no other aircraft were on the runway. Moments later, the plane vanished as he approached, leaving him shaken and questioning what he had witnessed. Similar stories have circulated among flight crews for decades, contributing to a quiet culture of awareness and caution during night operations. Paranormal investigators have been drawn to Anchorage International Airport precisely because of these recurring reports. Audio and video equipment have captured fleeting anomalies, shadowy shapes crossing hangar doors, strange reflections in airport windows, and sudden bursts of static on communication devices. Investigators hypothesize that the intensity of the airport's activity, combined with the tragedies of its history, may have created a residual energy that continues to manifest long after the original events occurred. Historically, the airport has seen its share of accidents and tragedies. Construction during harsh Alaskan winters took a toll on workers, some succumbing to the elements, while aviation accidents over the years claimed additional lives. Many believe that these spirits remain tethered to the airport, drawn to the place where their work and lives were interrupted. It is said that the phantom planes are echoes of cargo runs that never completed their journeys, spectral rehearsals of departures that were never fulfilled, a replaying of past events frozen in time. Employees have learned to coexist with the inexplicable. Night shift crews report a mixture of respect and caution when entering areas where activity is most pronounced. Pilots are trained to be observant, acknowledging that the night air may carry both physical hazards and the unseen presence of the past. Stories of phantom planes, ghostly workers, and fleeting shadows are passed down from one generation of airport staff to the next, a shared knowledge that becomes part of the culture of Anchorage International. The tales are told not as horror, but as a quiet recognition of the airport's layered history and the lives that helped build it. Even visitors have felt the subtle presence of the airport's ghosts. Those walking along the observation deck on quiet nights often describe a sense of being watched, glimpsing figures at the edge of hangars, or seeing lights flicker inexplicably across the runway. The chill in the air seems heavier in certain areas, and the wind carries sounds that cannot be traced to engines, vehicles, or nature. There is an unspoken understanding among those familiar with the stories that Anchorage International is a space where the living and the spectral coexist, where memory and presence overlap in ways that are impossible to ignore. Fairbanks International Airport, perched in the heart of Alaska's interior, is a hub of aviation activity by day, yet by night it becomes something far more mysterious. Surrounded by vast expanses of frozen tundra and illuminated under the ethereal glow of the northern lights, the airport has earned a reputation among pilots and locals alike as a place where the veil between the living and the dead seems unusually thin. Stories of ghostly planes, spectral aviators, and unexplained sounds have circulated for decades, lending the airport an eerie mystique that contrasts sharply with the routine bustle of daytime operations. One of the most frequently reported phenomena involves phantom cockpit chatter. Pilots flying into Fairbanks International during late-night hours sometimes hear voices over their radios, voices that are clearly in conversation but emanating from no other aircraft. These communications often include standard flight instructions, weather updates, or even casual remarks among crew members. When pilots attempt to trace the source, they find no other planes in proximity. The voices vanish just as suddenly as they appear, leaving those in the cockpit unsettled and questioning whether the transmissions are technological anomalies, or something far more spectral. The haunting at Fairbanks extends beyond auditory phenomena. Several pilots and ground crews have reported sightings of apparitions wandering the tarmac. These figures are often dressed in early 20th century aviation attire, leather jackets, goggles, and caps, typical of pioneering pilots. Some are seen inspecting aircraft, walking the length of the runway, or gesturing as if guiding unseen flights. Those who attempt to approach or signal these figures often find them fading like mist, leaving only the chill of their presence behind. The apparitions are never aggressive. Rather, they carry a solemn dignity, as if bound to the airport by a deep connection to the skies they once navigated. Locals and airport staff have long theorized that the spirits are drawn to the unique energy of Fairbanks itself, situated beneath some of the clearest views of the aurora borealis. The airport is bathed in shifting curtains of green, purple, and red light for much of the winter. Witnesses describe seeing the ghostly aviators pause beneath the aurora, their forms illuminated by the shimmering skies, almost as though they are communing with the celestial spectacle above. The northern lights seem to act as both beacon and canvas for these spirits, enhancing the surreal and otherworldly quality of their presence. Ground personnel have their own unsettling experiences. On quiet nights, when the hangars are empty and only the hum of distant machinery can be heard, Workers report hearing footsteps echoing along the tarmac, or the faint clink of metal tools that have not been moved. Occasionally, equipment shifts on its own, or lights flicker in empty sections of the terminal. Some employees have witnessed shadows moving along hangar walls, or seen reflections of figures in darkened windows, only to find nothing when they investigate. Many of these occurrences are concentrated near older sections of the airport, where early aviation pioneers labored and flew, suggesting a lingering attachment to the space by those who helped shape it in its infancy. Historical records reinforce the notion that the airport is steeped in a spectral past. Fairbanks International and its predecessor Airfields have been sites of aviation innovation and hardship since the early 20th century. Pilots braved extreme cold, treacherous weather, and the isolation of the Alaskan interior, often paying the ultimate price in pursuit of flight. Aviation accidents, training mishaps, and the deaths of early mechanics and airmen contributed to a legacy of intense emotional and physical investment in the land. Paranormal researchers suggest that this combination of high stakes, frequent danger, and human dedication may have created residual energy that continues to manifest today. Recordings sometimes reveal whispers, indistinct chatter, or the occasional call sign seemingly from invisible planes. Thermal imaging detects heat signatures when no living beings are present, and security cameras occasionally pick up shadowy forms moving across the tarmac or inside hangars. While skeptics may attribute these experiences to equipment errors or environmental conditions, the consistency of reports across decades, combined with the sheer number of witnesses, including highly trained pilots, makes the phenomenon difficult to dismiss entirely. Visitors to Fairbanks International who venture out at night often report a mixture of awe and unease. The northern lights cast a hauntingly beautiful glow over the runways, blending natural majesty with the ethereal presence of the airport's ghosts. Observers have described seeing faint, human-shaped figures pause beneath the aurora, or glimpsing phantom planes taxiing silently as though rehearsing routes from decades past. The interplay between light, shadow, and the spectral forms creates a scene that is simultaneously mesmerizing and unsettling, leaving a lasting impression on anyone who witnesses it. Despite the eerie occurrences, the spirits of Fairbanks International seem tied not to malice but to continuity. Pilots who have encountered phantom chatter often report a strange sense of guidance, as if the voices are assisting them rather than warning them away. Apparitions on the tarmac are described as dignified, careful, and attentive to the surrounding environment, almost as if they are fulfilling duties from their lives that continue beyond death. The haunting is subtle, respectful, and intertwined with the very history of flight in Alaska. Elmendorf Air Force Base, located on the outskirts of Anchorage, Alaska, is a sprawling military installation that serves as a hub for aviation operations and defense activities. By day, it is a place of precision, discipline, and routine, but by night, the base becomes a different kind of territory, one where the line between the living and the spectral seems remarkably thin. Military personnel, both past and present, have reported encounters with ghostly figures, phantom aircraft, and unexplained sounds, lending the base a haunting reputation that has persisted for decades. Among the most frequently reported phenomena are the apparitions of personnel dressed in vintage flight suits, often seen along the edges of hangars or walking purposefully across otherwise empty tarmacs. These figures are described as translucent but distinctly human in form, moving with a calm efficiency as if performing duties that have been repeated countless times. Witnesses consistently note that these apparitions do not behave aggressively or threateningly. Instead, they exude a quiet determination, a presence that seems bound to the mission and the history of the base. Many personnel have reported the unnerving sensation of being observed while conducting routine maintenance, only to glance up and see a figure standing silently nearby, disappearing when approached. Phantom aircraft are another hallmark of Elmendorf's spectral activity. Several pilots recount seeing full-size planes taxiing or taking off from the runway during late-night hours when no scheduled flights are in progress. These aircraft often appear in sharp detail, lights shining, engines humming, and wings cutting through the night air. Yet when approached or checked on radar, they vanish completely, leaving no tracks on monitoring systems, no disturbance on the tarmac, and no evidence that a plane was ever present. These experiences are particularly unnerving for those who have spent decades around military aviation, trained to read subtle cues and track aircraft precisely. The sudden disappearance of an aircraft in plain sight challenges everything they know about flight and physics. Ground crews and maintenance personnel have also reported unusual occurrences within hangars and barracks. Echoes of footsteps are frequently heard in empty corridors, sometimes accompanied by the creak of doors opening and closing on their own. Equipment occasionally shifts without explanation, and lights flicker in a manner that seems synchronized with the movement of unseen figures. These phenomena are most commonly reported in older sections of the base, areas built during the early years of Elmendorf's operation. Some suggest that the spirits are tied to these original facilities, bound to the place by their work, their dedication, and perhaps their deaths during training exercises or construction projects. Eyewitness accounts paint a consistent picture. One airman described walking across a darkened tarmac when he noticed a figure in an old-style flight suit standing by a hangar. The figure appeared to be inspecting a parked plane, notebook in hand. When the airman approached, the figure vanished into thin air. On a separate occasion, a pilot reported seeing a spectral aircraft take off in the distance. The plane glided smoothly into the night sky, engines roaring silently, and disappeared over the horizon with no trace on radar. These incidents are not isolated. Multiple personnel have described nearly identical experiences, leading to a quiet but persistent belief in the supernatural among those who spend time on base. Paranormal researchers have taken interest in Elmendorf Air Force Base due to the number and consistency of reported sightings. Audio recordings occasionally capture faint, unexplained noises, footsteps, muffled voices, and the hum of engines that are not operating. Thermal imaging sometimes reveals heat signatures moving through empty corridors or along hangars, and night vision cameras detect translucent forms crossing open spaces. While skeptics point to stress, fatigue, and environmental factors as possible explanations, the repeated nature of these occurrences across different decades and personnel adds weight to the notion that something beyond the ordinary may inhabit the base. Historical records provide context for these mysterious phenomena. Elmendorf has been a critical part of U.S. military operations since its inception. With decades of high-stakes training, missions, and aviation activity, many early personnel lost their lives in accidents, extreme weather, or other service-related incidents, leaving a legacy of sacrifice embedded in the base's history. Some investigators suggest that the spirits are residual, echoes of these individuals repeating tasks that defined their lives, or conscious presences bound to the base by duty and attachment. The apparitions in vintage flight suits, phantom aircraft, and unexplained footsteps all point toward a haunting intimately connected to the human energy invested in the base over the years. The haunting at Elmendorf is subtle yet pervasive. Unlike malevolent hauntings designed to frighten, these phenomena often carry a sense of order and purpose. Pilots encountering phantom aircraft sometimes describe feeling guided rather than threatened, and personnel witnessing figures in flight suits often sense a reassurance, a quiet observation of the work they perform. The present seems tied not to fear, but to the history, discipline, and enduring mission of the base. It is as if the spirits of Elmendorf continue their duties, ensuring that, even in absence, the operations and legacy of the base are remembered. Visitors to the base after hours report a mixture of awe and unease, walking along quiet tarmacs under the starlit Alaskan sky. It is not uncommon to see lights flicker in hangars, or catch glimpses of figures moving across open spaces. The cold air carries sounds that cannot always be explained. A distant hum of engines, footsteps on concrete, the rustle of uniforms in the wind. Many feel the weight of history in the shadows, an invisible presence observing the living as they continue the work that those who came before once performed. Juneau International Airport, nestled among the rugged mountains and fjords of Alaska's capital, is known for its breathtaking scenery and challenging approach for pilots. Yet beyond its reputation as a gateway to Southeast Alaska, the airport carries a shadowed reputation. Whispered among seasoned pilots and ground crews, tales of phantom shadows on the runways, inexplicable instrument malfunctions, and eerie radio transmissions have persisted for decades, lending an otherworldly aura to this otherwise routine aviation hub. Ground crews are often the first to notice the airport's strange activity. During the quiet hours of night or early morning, they report seeing shadowy figures walking along the edges of the tarmac. These forms are usually humanoid in shape but lack no discernible features, just silhouettes moving with a deliberate pace. Sometimes the figures pause, as though observing the work being done, then vanish when approached. Vehicles left idling near hangars occasionally shift slightly, or equipment appears moved from its previous location, only to return inexplicably to its original spot. Many long-term staff members have come to recognize these manifestations as consistent yet inexplicable phenomena, speaking of them in hushed tones to avoid drawing attention, as though acknowledgement alone might provoke further encounters. Pilots experience Juneau International's hauntings in a more surreal, high-stakes context. Several have reported sudden instrument malfunctions when flying over certain sections of the airport's approach path, particularly during nighttime arrivals or low-visibility conditions. Navigation systems may flicker, altimeters swing unexpectedly, or compasses shift erratically. When pilots attempt to trace the transmission, it vanishes without explanation. Some describe the whispers as indistinct but urgent, a voice or series of voices repeating phrases that seem partially intelligible, only to fade the moment attention is focused. These incidents are reported across multiple flights and crews, suggesting a pattern rather than isolated coincidences. The airport's unusual geography may contribute to its enigmatic reputation, yet many pilots insist that the malfunctions and whispers cannot be attributed solely to natural phenomena. Highly experienced aviators, familiar with local weather patterns and terrain anomalies, describe encounters that defy logical explanation. One pilot recounted approaching the runway on a calm, clear night when the altimeter suddenly spiked without warning, followed by a soft, whispering voice issuing an indistinct command. By the time the aircraft stabilized, both the instruments and the transmission had returned to normal, leaving the crew shaken and questioning what had occurred. Historical context adds another layer to Juneau International's paranormal lore. The region has a long history of aviation activity, dating back to early bush pilots who navigated the treacherous Alaskan terrain with limited equipment. Aircraft accidents were not uncommon, and lives were lost both on the runways and in the surrounding mountains. Some local historians and paranormal enthusiasts speculate that these spirits linger at the airport, drawn to the very place where their lives ended or where their aviation careers were centered. The whispers on the radio and the shadowy figures along the tarmac may be residual energies or conscious presences, replaying events, warnings, or unfinished duties long after death. Despite the unsettling phenomena, those who work at the airport continue to respect its quirks rather than fear them. Ground crews have developed routines and unspoken protocols for dealing with the shadows, often leaving tools in place or avoiding the areas where sightings are most frequent. Pilots, to approach the airport with heightened awareness, acknowledging that while the airport is operationally safe, it carries a legacy of mystery that demands respect. Many visitors and employees describe the overall sensation as being watched or accompanied. The shadows on the tarmac appear to follow without encroaching, and the whispers on the radio carry an uncanny sense of awareness, as though the voices respond to the aircraft's position and movement. In some cases, pilots report that these anomalies are more pronounced under certain atmospheric conditions, particularly during foggy nights, aurora-filled skies, or heavy precipitation. These environmental elements seem to amplify the airport's spectral presence, turning routine operations into an experience that blends the real and the ethereal. Security cameras and modern surveillance equipment occasionally capture fleeting anomalies, though these images often appear vague and ambiguous, while skeptics attribute much of the activity to technical glitches or optical illusions. The sheer number of consistent accounts over decades makes Juneau International Airport a unique case in the realm of haunted aviation sites. Juneau International Airport exists at a fascinating intersection of human ingenuity and mystery. Pilots navigate the challenging approaches over fjords and mountains, while ground crews maintain the operations of a vital Alaskan hub. Yet overlaying this practical reality is a persistent layer of the unexplained. Shadows moving along the runways, instruments faltering without cause, and whispers on the radio that vanish the moment they are acknowledged. The phenomena are subtle yet persistent, respectful yet eerie, leaving those who encounter them with a lasting impression of a place where history, memory, and the unexplained converge. Ketchikan International Airport, perched on the edge of Alaska's southeastern panhandle, is a hub for both regional flights and bush pilots navigating the rugged archipelago. By day, the airport hums with activity planes taxiing, passengers boarding, and the distant hum of engines blending with the coastal winds. Yet, as twilight falls and the fog drifts in from the surrounding waterways, the airport transforms. Visitors and personnel alike have reported a variety of eerie phenomena. From ghostly figures near abandoned hangars to phantom aircraft materializing and vanishing in the mist. Locals insist that the spirits of early bush pilots, those who first braved the challenging skies of southeastern Alaska, still patrol the airfield, bound by duty and memory. One of the most common accounts involves shadowy figures appearing along the edges of deserted hangars. These figures are often humanoid in shape but lack distinct features. Witnesses describe them moving with deliberate purpose, walking the length of the tarmac as if inspecting planes or preparing for a flight. Some claim the figures were early 20th century flight suits, complete with leather jackets and goggles, reminiscent of the bush pilots who pioneered air travel in the region. Ground personnel often report noticing these apparitions while performing routine maintenance or late-night security checks. When approached, the figures disappear without a trace, leaving only the unsettling sense of being watched. Phantom planes are another hallmark of Ketchikan's hauntings. Several pilots recount seeing aircraft taxiing on the runway or approaching for landing, only for them to vanish moments before touchdown. These apparitions are often described in vivid detail, landing lights cutting through the mist, wings angled precisely for approach, and engines producing a faint, almost imperceptible hum. Yet radar screens show no incoming traffic, and visual scans reveal no living pilots. These encounters leave even the most experienced pilots questioning the line between reality and spectral illusion. The fog that often blankets Ketchikan enhances the haunting atmosphere. Dense, rolling mists rise from the waterways and weave across the airfield, sometimes thick enough to obscure runways and taxiways entirely. It is during these foggy conditions that most reports occur, lending an ethereal quality to the apparitions. Pilots approaching the airport have noted sudden instrument fluctuations or unexpected changes in wind readings, coinciding with sightings of phantom aircraft. The combination of limited visibility, coastal weather anomalies, and spectral sightings creates an environment both captivating and unnerving, making night flights over Ketchikan a test of nerves as well as skill. Locals attribute much of the haunting to the history of bush aviation in the region. Ketchikan was a hub for early pilots who delivered mail, transported supplies, and charted new air routes through the treacherous archipelago. These pioneers faced unpredictable weather, sheer cliffs, and turbulent waters, and many lost their lives in accidents that are now woven into the folklore of the area. Paranormal enthusiasts speculate that the spirits of these pilots, attached to the airfield and their aircraft, continue to patrol the grounds, repeating routines from their lives or ensuring the safety of those who follow in their paths. Ground crews report strange auditory phenomena as well. Late at night, some have heard the distant hum of engines when no planes are operating, or the clatter of tools in hangars that are empty. Footsteps echo across concrete runways, moving rhythmically and deliberately, as though someone is performing a familiar inspection. Equipment sometimes shifts inexplicably, and lights flicker in sync with the movement of the shadows. While skeptics might suggest fatigue, optical illusions, or mechanical errors, the consistency and specificity of reports over decades give weight to the belief that something otherworldly is at play. Pilots frequently describe a sensation of being observed or guided. Phantom planes may appear to follow flight paths, hover near taxiways, or even drift in formation with active aircraft before fading into the fog. Some aviators recount hearing faint chatter over radio's brief, indistinct phrases that sound like instructions or pre-flight communication, but when checked, the source is untraceable. These audio anomalies, paired with visual sightings, create an immersive and sometimes unsettling experience, as if the airport is alive with the echoes of past aviators. Historical records lend credence to the spectral reports. Ketchikan International Airport and its predecessor Fields have been operational since the early days of Alaskan aviation. Records document numerous accidents, emergency landings, and training mishaps. The early bush pilots endured extreme weather conditions, dense fog, and challenging terrain, making their work perilous. Many perished while performing the very tasks that modern pilots now continue. And locals believe their dedication and sacrifice left residual energy at the airport, a force that manifests in the forms of shadows, phantom aircraft, and unexplained sounds. Despite the eerie occurrences, the haunting of Ketchikan International is generally described as respectful rather than hostile. The spectral figures do not interfere aggressively with daily operations. Instead, they appear to maintain routines, patrol grounds, and observe with quiet diligence. Pilots and ground crews often report a strange sense of reassurance amidst the unease, a feeling that the spirits are watching over the airport rather than seeking to harm anyone. The haunting is both a reminder of the airport's rich aviation history and a testament to the perseverance and courage of the bush pilots who shaped it. Visitors arriving at Ketchikan International Airport after dark often leave with lasting impressions of the strange activity. Shadows flit along hangars, phantom planes glide silently through fog, and the distant hum of engines echoes through the night air. Even in the modern age, when radar, GPS, and advanced instrumentation dominate flight operations, there exists a presence beyond the technological, living memory of those who first navigated the skies of southeastern Alaska. The airport is not just a point of transit, it is a space where history, memory, and the unexplained converge, a reminder that some spirits never truly leave the ground they loved, nor the skies they once called home. Bethel Airport, located in the remote reaches of Alaska's Yukon-Kuskokwim Delta, is a hub of essential travel for the surrounding communities. By day, it is a bustling gateway, with small planes transporting passengers, cargo, and supplies across a vast and often treacherous landscape. Yet when darkness falls and the last flights return to their hangars, the airport takes on an eerie quality. Pilots, ground crews, and occasional visitors have reported experiences that defy logical explanation. Phantom engines revving in the dead of night, shadowy figures appearing near abandoned terminals, and sudden, inexplicable chills while flying over the airfield. These phenomena have earned Bethel Airport a quiet but persistent reputation as a place where the natural and supernatural converge. Ground personnel are often the first to encounter the airport's spectral activity. Late at night, when the runways are empty and the terminals silent, many have reported seeing shadowy figures moving near the abandoned sections of the airport. These apparitions are described as tall and indistinct, often appearing just at the edge of visibility. Witnesses claim the figures move with purpose, pacing near doors or hovering around aircraft as if checking preparations. Occasionally, these shadows vanish when approached, leaving only a sense of being watched. Some ground crew members have recounted the unnerving experience of hearing footsteps echo across empty hangars, or the metallic clang of tools shifting without any human presence. These subtle disturbances are consistent enough to have become a topic of hushed conversation among those who work the late shifts. Pilots have their own stories, many of which occur while flying over the airport after dark. Some have reported sudden, unexplainable chills inside the cockpit, a cold that seems to seep into the bones despite functioning heaters. Others describe hearing the roar of engines where no aircraft is present, the sound rising from the tarmac and fading as mysteriously as it appears. In certain cases, pilots have witnessed phantom planes taxiing across runways, lights cutting through the darkness, only to vanish before they can be investigated. These encounters are particularly unnerving for experienced aviators, trained to rely on visual cues, instruments, and radar. The sudden appearance of aircraft or mechanical sounds without any corresponding evidence challenges their understanding of reality, leaving a lingering sense of unease. Abandoned terminals and auxiliary structures add to the haunting atmosphere of Bethel Airport. Over the decades, changes in infrastructure and the relocation of certain services have left several buildings empty. Yet they continue to exude a presence. Visitors and workers report seeing figures standing in darkened windows or walking the hallways where no one should be. Lights sometimes flicker within the buildings, and doors creak open or shut on their own, as if welcoming or warning the living. Paranormal investigators who have visited the airport recorded faint voices, whispers indistinct but urgent, and unexplained audio anomalies reminiscent of conversations long past. The combination of visual and auditory phenomena gives the impression that the airport itself remembers the countless hours of human activity, holding on to echoes of those who once moved through its spaces. Local lore provides context for these hauntings. Bethel and the surrounding region have a rich history of aviation, with bush pilots navigating extreme weather, dense fog, and vast wilderness to deliver mail, supplies, and medical aid. It is believed that some of these spirits remain tied to the airport, manifesting as shadows or phantom aircraft, drawn to the very place where their lives and work intersected. Pilots encountering these phenomena sometimes interpret them as echoes of the past, repeating routines or ensuring that modern aircraft remain safe under their watchful presence. The sensory experiences reported at Bethel Airport are not limited to sight and sound. Multiple witnesses have described a profound sense of being observed, a feeling of awareness that seems independent of other people on the airfield. Pilots and ground crew alike have remarked on the disorienting effect of sudden temperature drops, cold drafts passing through cockpits or hangars with no source, and the sensation of invisible brushes against their arms or shoulders. These subtle, yet unmistakable, interactions contribute to the belief that the airport is haunted not by malevolence, but by lingering purposes, silent oversight that persists beyond the realm of the living. Some pilots recall more detailed experiences that linger in memory long after a flight. One recounted flying a small plane over the tarmac on a clear night when he heard the unmistakable roar of engines from multiple directions, even though the airport was deserted. Another described noticing a shadowy figure pacing near an abandoned terminal while on approach, only for the figure to vanish just as the aircraft descended closer. These encounters, vivid and consistent in description across decades, have cemented Bethel Airport's reputation as a site of unexplained activity. Despite these unsettling events, the haunting of Bethel Airport is generally perceived as not. Pilots continue to use the airfield without incident, and ground crews maintain operations with professionalism, often treating the spectral presence as part of the airport's history rather than a danger. The apparitions, phantom engines, and chilling sensations are interpreted by many as echoes of those who paved the way for modern aviation in the region. A lingering presence that serves as a reminder of the risks, dedication, and courage required to navigate Alaska's remote skies. Bethel Airport is a place where the ordinary and extraordinary intersect. Shadowy figures move through abandoned terminals. Phantom planes glide silently across the tarmac, and unseen presences manifest as sudden chills or whispered sounds in the dark. These phenomena, consistent over decades, suggest a lingering connection to the history and human effort embedded in the airfield. For pilots, ground crews, and visitors, Bethel Airport is more than a transportation hub. It is a space where memory, sacrifice, and the unexplained coexist, a place where the spirits of early aviators continue to patrol the skies and walk the grounds, ensuring that their legacy endures long after their flights have ended. Nome Airport perched on the edge of Alaska's vast tundra, serves as a critical hub for both residents and the intrepid pilots who navigate the harsh northern skies. By day, it is a place of urgency and routine planes taxiing, cargo being loaded, and passengers boarding for flights across treacherous terrain. Yet when the sun dips below the horizon and the Arctic cold deepens, Nome Airport takes on a different character, one steeped in mystery and the whispers of the past. Over the years, pilots and ground crews have reported spectral sightings, phantom planes circling the airfield, and the eerie sound of footsteps on snow-covered tarmacs. The haunting reputation of this remote airport is deeply intertwined with Alaska's history of aviation and the countless aviators who risked everything to traverse its unforgiving landscapes. One of the most frequently reported phenomena at Nome Airport involves ghostly planes. Pilots approaching the airfield at night or during blizzard conditions often claim to see aircraft gliding silently in the distance. These spectral planes sometimes circle the airport repeatedly, as though attempting to land, yet radar screens and visual observation reveal nothing. Experienced aviators describe the aircraft in vivid detail, the faint glow of navigation lights, the precise angle of descent, and even the rhythmic sound of engines, despite the plane's lack of physical presence. Moments later, the apparition vanishes entirely, leaving only the pilot's racing heart and the eerie silence of the Arctic night. Some who have witnessed these phenomena report a sense of reassurance, as if the ghost planes are guiding or warning, rather than threatening, those who traverse the skies. Ground crews, too, have experienced the airport's spectral activity. During long nights, when the airfield is quiet, staff have heard footsteps crunching over snow-covered tarmacs, echoing in the stillness. Yet when they investigate, no one is there. Sometimes equipment is found slightly out of place, or hangar doors creak open and shut on their own. These disturbances, though subtle, are consistent enough that many employees accept them as a natural part of working at Nome Airport. Some veterans of the airfield recount seeing shadowy figures near the perimeter, dressed in early flight gear or heavy Arctic clothing, moving with a purpose but disappearing when approached. These apparitions are often linked to the pilots who lost their lives attempting to reach Nome during blizzards or harsh winter conditions. The extreme weather and geography of Nome contribute both to the region's aviation history and its spectral lore. Early bush pilots navigated through whiteouts, ice storms, and strong winds over vast, frozen expanses, often without modern instruments. Many perished in crashes or disappeared in the blizzards, leaving their stories embedded in the memory of the community. Locals believe that some of these lost aviators remain tied to the airport, manifesting as ghost planes circling above or figures patrolling the tarmac below. The presence of these spirits is not thought to be malevolent. Rather, it is as if they are still carrying out the duties they loved or lost their lives attempting. Pilots often interpret fleeting lights on the horizon or sudden shifts in wind or radio signals as reminders of those who came before. Auditory phenomena are also common at Nome Airport. Staff and pilots alike report hearing phantom engine roars, sometimes accompanied by the distant sound of propellers slicing through icy air. Whispers can be heard near hangars and terminals, though the source is never visible. Some describe these whispers as familiar phrases or pre-flight instructions, echoing across decades. Ground personnel have even recorded faint, indistinct voices on audio devices during night operations, though playback yields nothing intelligible. These sounds, combined with visual sightings, create an immersive environment where the boundary between the living and the spectral feels tenuous and fluid. Historical accounts further reinforce the airport's haunted reputation. Nome's aviation history is rich and fraught with danger. From male pilots delivering critical communications to medical flights responding to emergencies, countless aviators risked everything to fly in one of the world's most challenging climates. Accidents were frequent, and bodies were often lost to the snow and ice, never recovered. The memory of these tragedies, preserved in local lore and personal accounts, seems to linger in the airport itself. Pilots today sometimes sense these presences as they navigate the skies, noting sudden visual or auditory phenomena that cannot be explained by weather, instruments, or human error. Some witnesses describe the haunting as oddly comforting rather than threatening. The ghost planes are rarely aggressive. They circle with precision, almost as if performing drills or training exercises from decades past. Shadowy figures walking the tarmac do not interfere with operations, but appear to carry out their tasks diligently, fading away when observed. For many who encounter these apparitions, the experience is humbling, a reminder of the courage and dedication required to survive and operate in Alaska's harshest environments. In a sense, the airport itself becomes a living memorial, honoring the risks and perseverance of those who came before. Even in modern times, when radar systems, GPS, and advanced communication tools dominate aviation, Nome Airport retains its spectral character. Pilots report that the apparitions are more frequent during snowstorms, fog, or the long Arctic nights, while ground crews notice shadows lingering near hangars or along perimeter fences when activity is minimal. The combination of visual, auditory, and tactile phenomena, cold drafts, sudden chills, and unexplained equipment movements creates an atmosphere where history and the supernatural coexist. Visitors who arrive after dark often leave with a sense that Nome Airport is more than just a transit point. It is a place where memory, courage, and the unexplained intersect. Barrow Wiley Post Will Rogers Memorial Airport, perched on the northernmost edge of Alaska, in Utqiagvik, is a place where the extremes of geography meet the extremes of human endeavor. By day, it serves as a vital link for this remote community, with planes transporting mail, supplies, and passengers across hundreds of miles of harsh tundra. Yet as the long Arctic night sets in, the airport takes on a different character. Locals and pilots alike have reported phenomena that defy explanation. Phantom radios crackling with distress calls from planes that never existed, and shadowy figures of aviators walking across the frozen runways. These accounts have made the airport infamous among those familiar with Alaskan aviation, blending history, isolation, and the eerie presence of the unexplained. Many reports begin with the sound of radios crackling in the silence of night. Pilots and ground personnel have described tuning into frequencies and hearing faint voices calling for help, repeating coordinates and urgent warnings. Yet, when they attempt to respond or triangulate the source, nothing appears. The transmissions vanish as suddenly as they emerge, leaving only static and a sense of disquiet. Some describe these voices as desperate, laced with fear, as though the callers were trapped in an unending cycle of distress. The phenomenon is so persistent that many locals have come to accept the airport as a place where the echoes of past emergencies linger, and where the Arctic night preserves the memory of those who once flew these skies. Shadowy figures are another hallmark of the airport's haunting. Observers frequently report seeing dark silhouettes pacing or walking across the frozen runways, especially near the edges where the tarmac meets the ice. These figures appear solid at first glance, but vanish when approached. Some witnesses claim to recognize the shapes of early aviators, complete with heavy flight suits and goggles, a visual echo of the pioneers who first braved northern skies. Ground crews on late shifts have recounted walking past these figures only to find the runway empty, yet with footprints pressed into the frost that vanish without explanation. The sense of being watched or accompanied by unseen eyes is often described as both unsettling and strangely reverent, a reminder of the history embedded in this remote outpost. The extreme environment of Utqiagvik contributes to both the airport's functionality and its spectral reputation. Located above the Arctic Circle, the airport experiences months of darkness during winter, fierce winds, and temperatures that can plummet far below zero. Early pilots navigating these conditions relied on rudimentary instruments, dead reckoning, and sheer courage to reach the remote airfield. Many did not survive, succumbing to blizzards, whiteouts, or mechanical failures in the unforgiving Arctic. Locals believe the spirits of these aviators remain tethered to the airport, manifesting as the phantom figures and mysterious radio transmissions that modern crews occasionally encounter. The auditory phenomena at Barrow Wiley Post Will Rogers Memorial Airport are not limited to radio static. Some pilots report hearing the distant hum of engines when no planes are present, or the sound of skis scraping across ice, as though aircraft are taxiing unseen. Whispers sometimes drift from the hangars or abandoned areas, indistinct but insistent, repeating fragments of coordinates, flight instructions, or brief exclamations. Paranormal researchers visiting the airport have captured faint audio anomalies during night operations, low-frequency vibrations, and disembodied voices that defy explanation. These sounds, coupled with the visual manifestations, create a surreal environment where the boundary between reality and the spectral feels thin and mutable. Historical records lend context to the haunting. UT Kiewit, once called Barrow, has a long history of aviation in extreme conditions. During the early 20th century, bush pilots delivered critical supplies and mail to communities across the Arctic, navigating in conditions that modern pilots would find perilous. The airport itself was named in part for Wiley Post and Will Rogers, two aviators who symbolize both the daring and the peril of early flights. Over the decades, countless flights were lost to storms, ice, and mechanical failure. The tales of these lost aviators, preserved in local memory and oral history, are said to linger in the airport, manifesting as the ghostly figures and phantom transmissions reported today. Witnesses emphasize that the haunting is generally happening. The phantom pilots and radios do not interfere aggressively with operations. Instead, they seem to exist in a space between worlds, performing rituals or routines from their lives as aviators. Pilots and ground personnel describe an almost protective quality in the apparitions, as if the spirits are still performing their duties, ensuring the safety of those who follow in their footsteps. The presence is at once eerie and humbling, a spectral acknowledgement of the bravery required to operate in the extreme conditions of the Arctic. Some of the more vivid accounts involve simultaneous visual and auditory phenomena. Pilots on approach have reported seeing a shadowy figure on the runway while hearing a faint but distinct voice over the radio giving instructions for landing. Ground crews have observed footprints in the frost, leading toward abandoned hangars, accompanied by the distant sound of engines starting, though no aircraft is present. In each case, the events are fleeting, vanishing as quickly as they appear, leaving witnesses with a lingering sense of awe and unease. Despite the modern sophistication of instruments, GPS, and communication systems, Barrow Wiley Post Will Rogers Memorial Airport retains its spectral qualities. The phenomena are most pronounced during the long polar night, when ice and snow reflect dim lighting and the mind is already attuned to subtle cues. Phantom engines, mysterious footprints, and shadowy figures remind pilots and staff alike that the airport is not merely a logistical hub, but a place where history, memory, and the unexplained intersect. Anchorage, Airfields, one of Alaska's oldest and most historic airports, serves as a hub for general aviation, flight training, and small aircraft operations. By day, it is alive with the hum of propellers, the chatter of pilots preparing for flights, and the steady rhythm of aircraft taking off and landing. Yet when evening falls and the last planes have returned to their hangars, the airfield transforms. Pilots and staff alike have reported strange, unexplained phenomena: spectral aircraft appearing in empty hangars, ghostly figures walking along taxiways, and sudden temperature drops in areas that should remain warm. These accounts have given Airfields a quiet reputation as one of Alaska's most haunted airports, a place where aviation history and the unexplained converge. One of the most commonly reported experiences involves the sighting of ghost planes. Pilots and maintenance personnel have recounted seeing aircraft appear in hangars where no planes were parked. Witnesses described the aircraft as fully detailed, with visible markings and lights, sometimes taxiing as if preparing for departure. Yet when approached, the planes vanish into thin air. These sightings are frequently accompanied by the faint hum of engines or the sound of landing gear moving across the tarmac, adding to the unsettling realism of the encounters. Ground crews working late shifts often experience the presence of shadowy figures along the taxiways and in hangars. These apparitions are typically described as wearing flight jackets or coveralls, sometimes with pilot caps or goggles, reminiscent of aviators from decades past. Some ground personnel have noted footprints appearing in the dust or frost inside hangars where no one has walked, only to vanish moments later. Others have felt sudden touches on their shoulders or fleeting brushes against their arms when the areas were otherwise empty. These phenomena have become so well known among late-shift staff that many consider them an accepted, if eerie, part of working at Airfield. Temperature anomalies are another frequent report. In hangars that are normally heated, pilots and mechanics often feel sudden drops in temperature, as if a cold gust of Arctic air has passed through. These chills are described as localized, sometimes affecting only a single corner of a hangar, and often coinciding with the appearance of a shadowy figure or spectral aircraft. Despite the warmth of the surrounding environment, the affected area can feel intensely cold, giving witnesses the unmistakable impression of another presence sharing the space. Some have likened it to standing in the breath of someone long departed, a sensation that is both chilling and impossible to rationalize. The history of Airfield provides a context that may explain the airport's spectral reputation. Established in the late 1920s, the field has served countless pilots and aircraft over nearly a century. Early aviators faced formidable challenges, navigating Alaska's unpredictable weather, vast wilderness, and limited technology. Some lost their lives in accidents during training flights or bush operations originating from the field. It is widely believed that the spirits of these pilots, devoted to their craft even in death, linger at Airfield, manifesting as apparitions, ghost planes, and the cold touches reported by staff. The airport itself, filled with decades of human activity and aviation history, seems to hold these memories, replaying them in ways that are visible, audible, or tactile. Many pilots report auditory phenomena in addition to visual sightings. Some hear the distant roar of engines when no aircraft are operating, or the metallic squeak of landing gear on unseen planes. Whispers are sometimes carried through the hangars, faintly audible but indistinct, sounding like flight instructions or casual conversation from eras long past. Audio recordings taken during night operations have occasionally captured unexplained noises that defy simple explanation. Low frequency, vibrations, indistinct murmurs, and the subtle sound of aircraft moving without any engines running. These occurrences reinforce the perception that Airfield is more than just a place of work. It's a living repository of aviation history, with its echoes occasionally stepping into the realm of the tangible. Some encounters are particularly vivid. One pilot describes seeing a single-engine plane with blinking navigation lights parked in an empty hangar. As he approached to inspect it, the plane dissolved into nothing, leaving only the faint echo of an engine winding down. Another ground crew member recalled walking along a taxiway late at night and glimpsing a figure in a flight suit moving toward a hangar. The figure disappeared mid-step, yet the air retained a lingering cold, as though the presence had brushed past. In both cases, witnesses reported no equipment malfunction or visual trickery, emphasizing the authenticity of their experiences. Despite the unnerving nature of these events, Airfield's hauntings are rarely described as threatening. The spirits, phantom planes, and temperature anomalies appear more as remnants of dedication and care than as malevolent forces. Pilots often interpret the apparitions as reminders of the courage and skill of those who came before, and ground crews treat the phenomena as a quiet presence watching over the field. The airport's spectral activity is perceived not as a danger but as a connection to history, a link between generations of aviators that transcends time. Airfield remains a busy airport by day, yet as darkness falls over Anchorage and the hum of engines fades, the airfield's more mysterious qualities emerge. Phantom aircraft glide silently through hangars, shadowy figures pace the taxiways, and sudden chills ripple through otherwise warm spaces. For pilots, mechanics, and visitors who experience it, Anchorage Airfield is a place where history and the unexplained coexist. The airport serves as both a working hub and a haunted monument, honoring the dedication of those who navigated Alaska's skies in the past. Bethel State Airport, located in the remote heart of Alaska, serves as a vital lifeline for the surrounding communities. Flights in and out of Bethel transport passengers, mail, supplies, and medical emergencies across vast expanses of tundra and river systems, often under challenging weather conditions. By day, the airport is a hub of activity. Propellers spin, pilots communicate over radios, and ground crews work tirelessly to prepare planes for the unpredictable Alaskan skies. Yet when night falls and the aurora borealis illuminates the horizon, Bethel State Airport takes on a mysterious character, a place where the echoes of history and the unexplained converge. Over the years, pilots and ground personnel have reported ghostly figures appearing near. Abandoned terminals, spectral aircraft gliding across the tarmac, and subtle signs that the spirits of early bush pilots linger, watching, guiding, and sometimes warning those who navigate these skies. One of the most common reports comes from pilots flying into Bethel after dark. Many have described seeing shadowy figures near the old terminals, figures that resemble bush pilots from decades past. These apparitions appear momentarily, often standing as if observing the runway or inspecting aircraft, only to vanish when approached. Some pilots report that these figures seem to move with purpose, walking along taxiways or pacing near hangars, as if performing duties they could not finish in life. The sense of being watched or followed is almost palpable, and while the experience is unsettling, it is rarely interpreted as hostile. Many believe these spectral presences are the lingering souls of aviators who perished in Alaska's harsh and unpredictable wilderness, bound to the airport and skies they once traversed. Ground crews working late-night shifts have corroborated many of these reports. Employees recount sudden glimpses of figures moving in the shadows near abandoned terminals and hangars. These figures are often dressed in the traditional flight jackets, goggles, and heavy boots of bush pilots, appearing as fleeting silhouettes against the dim lights of the airfield. Some witnesses have described hearing the crunch of snow under unseen footsteps, or seeing doors swing open and shut without cause. Occasionally, equipment is found slightly out of place, as though someone or something has interacted with it. These subtle signs reinforce the belief that Bethel State Airport is not merely a functional facility, but a space alive with the memory of those who risked everything to connect remote communities through aviation. Phantom aircraft sightings are another element of Bethel's haunting. Pilots have reported seeing planes glide silently across the tarmac or hover briefly over the runway, only to disappear before landing. These aircraft often resembled the small bush planes historically used in Alaska, complete with landing skids or propellers moving at a slow, spectral pace. Some pilots describe hearing the faint whine of engines and the subtle creak of landing gear. Even when no actual aircraft is present, radar and modern instruments register nothing, making the apparitions all the more perplexing. In some accounts, the ghost planes appear to guide real flights, seemingly leading them along safe paths or hovering near stormy clouds as if warning of danger ahead. The haunting phenomena are closely tied to the extreme geography and climate of Bethel, situated on the Kuskokwim River near the edge of the Arctic tundra. The airport experiences intense winds, sudden fog, snowstorms, and long periods of darkness during the winter months. Early bush pilots navigating these skies relied on limited instruments, dead reckoning, and a deep understanding of the terrain. Many flights were lost to blizzards, whiteouts, or mechanical failure, leaving pilots stranded or never found. Locals believe that the spirits of these aviators remain attached to the airport, drawn to the place where their work was most vital and where their lives often ended prematurely. The apparitions serve as a reminder of the peril and courage involved in pioneering flight in Alaska. Auditory phenomena complement the visual sightings. Ground crews and pilots have reported hearing distant engine hums, the rustle of aircraft fabric, or the squeak of skis on ice when no planes are in motion. Faint voices carrying flight instructions, coordinates, or casual chatter from decades past sometimes drift across hangars or terminals, audible only for brief moments. Paranormal investigators visiting the airport have recorded low-frequency vibrations and whispers, although playback often yields only unintelligible murmurs. The combination of visual and auditory anomalies reinforces the impression that Bethel State Airport is a threshold between the living and the spectral, where history continues to unfold in subtle but undeniable ways. Despite the eerie nature of these occurrences, many who witnessed them describe the experience as humbling rather than frightening. Pilots and ground personnel often interpret the ghostly figures as protective or guiding presences. Those who have flown into Bethel during storms or difficult conditions sometimes report that ghostly aircraft or apparitions seem to show them a safe path, hovering nearby until the danger passed. In this way, the spirits of bush pilots are not malevolent. They are remembered as dedicated professionals whose commitment to flight transcends death, continuing to watch over the airport and those who rely on it. Some of the most vivid accounts involve simultaneous visual and auditory experiences. One pilot describes spotting a shadowy figure near an abandoned terminal while hearing the faint hum of a propeller engine, only for both to vanish as the plane touched down. A ground crew member recalled seeing a figure walk along a taxiway while the sound of skis on ice echoed beneath their feet. Yet the tarmac remained empty upon investigation. Such encounters create a sense that history is not only preserved at Bethel State Airport, but actively engaged in the present, a spectral continuity of Alaska's aviation heritage. Even with modern navigation systems, radar, and communication technology, the hauntings at Bethel persist. The long Arctic nights, reflective snow, and remote location provide an environment where subtle cues are magnified, allowing ghostly phenomena to emerge more vividly. Pilots and staff alike accept the airport's reputation, sharing stories that highlight both the danger of early aviation and the lingering presence of those who shaped it. Nome City Field, perched on the edge of the Bering Sea in western Alaska, is a small but historically significant airport that has long served as a gateway to the region's rugged terrain. By day, it handles general aviation flights, medical evacuations, and supply runs that keep remote communities connected to the outside world. Yet when night falls, Nome City Field takes on an entirely different character. Pilots and visitors alike have reported phenomena that defy explanation. Shadowy figures of early aviators appearing near the runway, radios crackling with ghostly chatter, and instruments behaving erratically when flying over the area. These experiences have made the airport notorious among those familiar with Alaskan aviation, blending the legacy of early bush pilots with the uncanny presence of the unexplained. Many of the ghostly encounters begin on the ground. Visitors to Nome City Field often report seeing dark silhouettes walking along the runways or near abandoned hangars. These figures are frequently described as wearing the heavy flight coats, goggles, and boots of early 20th century aviators, their forms distinct yet fleeting. Witnesses recount feeling the unmistakable sensation of being observed, as if these figures are performing a silent inspection of the airport, their eyes following every movement. Approaching these shadows often results in them vanishing into the night, leaving behind only the faint echo of footsteps or a chill in the air. Locals suggest that these apparitions are the spirits of pioneering pilots who risked everything to establish aviation in Alaska, tethered to the field where their lives and legacies remain. Radio anomalies are a common element of Nome City Field's haunting. Pilots flying at night have described hearing static field transmissions that carry faint, urgent voices. Sometimes the chatter includes coordinates, weather updates, or flight instructions, only to disappear when a pilot attempts to respond. These broadcasts often feel desperate, as if the voices are trapped in a moment of panic from decades past. Ground crews have reported hearing similar transmissions while walking the tarmac during late-night shifts, with the sound coming from empty radios or abandoned terminals. The source of these broadcasts remains unknown, and modern equipment fails to trace or reproduce the phenomena, leaving witnesses with only the unsettling impression of ghostly communication. Instrument anomalies add another layer of mystery. Pilots navigating the skies above Nome City Field at night sometimes experience sudden malfunctions or erratic behavior from otherwise reliable gauges. Compasses may spin inexplicably, altimeters fluctuate, and navigation systems display conflicting information. Many pilots describe the sense of being guided or even misled by an unseen presence, particularly when flying over familiar landmarks. While some dismiss these events as atmospheric interference or electrical glitches, others believe they are connected to the spirits of aviators who perished in the area, their presence influencing instruments as if to signal a warning or convey unfinished messages. The history of Nome and its early aviation helps contextualize these hauntings. Nome was a critical hub during Alaska's early aviation era, particularly for bush pilots who transported supplies, mail, and passengers across the treacherous landscape. The Bering Sea and surrounding tundra offered little margin for error, and many early flights ended in disaster due to sudden storms, freezing temperatures, or mechanical failure. Pilots who braved these skies often relied on instinct, courage, and intimate knowledge of the land. It is widely believed that the spirits of those lost pilots linger, replaying fragments of their lives and duties through the shadowy figures, ghostly transmissions, and unexplained instrument behavior reported at Nome City Field. Witnesses have also noted the intersection of visual and auditory phenomena. One pilot recounted seeing a shadowy figure standing near the runway while simultaneously hearing faint chatter over the radio, seemingly coordinating a landing that never occurred. Ground crews have reported the simultaneous appearance of silhouettes in hangars while radios emit unintelligible bursts of static, creating an eerie sense that past and present are coexisting in the same space. These experiences leave an indelible impression, as if Nome City Field is a conduit where the history of Alaskan aviation briefly manifests in ways tangible enough to unsettle even the most seasoned professionals. Despite the unnerving nature of these encounters, many who experienced them describe the phenomenon as more reverent than frightening. Pilots and ground crews interpret the ghostly figures and transmissions as echoes of dedication and perseverance. The apparitions seem to be performing tasks they were unable to finish in life, inspecting aircraft, calling instructions, or patrolling the runways. Some pilots have reported feeling subtle guidance from these spirits during difficult night flights, as if they were being watched over by those who mastered these skies before them. In this sense, the haunting is less a threat than a tribute, a lingering acknowledgement of the bravery and skill of Alaskan aviation pioneers. Some of the most vivid accounts involve interactions where multiple senses are affected simultaneously. Pilots have described instruments fluctuating wildly while shadowy figures appear on the runway below, and static-filled radio transmissions echo over the cockpit. Ground crews have observed fleeting silhouettes in hangars, accompanied by sudden drops in temperature or the faint sound of propellers spinning. These occurrences are fleeting, often vanishing before witnesses can fully comprehend them, yet they leave a lasting impression, emphasizing the persistent presence of the past within the airport. Even with modern technology, Nome City Field remains a site where history and the unexplained intersect. The long polar nights, reflective ice, and remote location amplify subtle cues, allowing ghostly phenomena to emerge more vividly than in populated areas. Pilots, ground crews, and visitors continue to report these experiences, accepting them as part of the airport's identity. Nome City Field is not merely a hub for aviation. It is a space where memory, history, and the spectral coexist. A reminder that the pioneering spirit of Alaska's early aviators endures long after their final flights. Sitka Rocky Gutierrez Airport, perched on the edge of the Alaskan coastline, serves as the gateway to the scenic town of Sitka and the surrounding islands of the Alexander Archipelago. By day, the airport buzzes with activity, accommodating small commercial flights, private aircraft, and cargo operations vital to the remote community. Yet, after the last plane lands and the hangars fall silent, Sitka Rocky Gutierrez transforms. Pilots, ground crews, and visitors have reported unsettling phenomena. Shadowy forms appearing on empty taxiways, ghostly footsteps echoing through abandoned hangars, and spectral lights drifting across the runway. These experiences have earned the airport a quiet reputation among Alaskans and aviators as a place where the line between the living and the spectral is thin. One of the most commonly reported phenomena involves shadowy figures on the taxiways. Pilots approaching Sitka, Rocky Gutierrez, late at night, often glimpse dark silhouettes standing near the edges of the runway, sometimes walking alongside the taxi lines or seemingly inspecting aircraft parked nearby. These figures are rarely fully visible. Their forms are dark and shifting, almost as if composed of mist or shadow. Witnesses describe the unsettling feeling of being watched, a presence that seems attentive to every movement of the plane. When pilots or ground crews attempt to approach, the figures vanish, leaving only an eerie stillness in their wake. Many interpret these apparitions as the lingering spirits of aviators who once flew these skies. Individuals whose dedication and labor tethered them to the airport long after death. Abandoned hangars are another focus of activity. Ground crews working late shifts frequently report hearing footsteps echoing across empty hangar floors. The sound of boots scuffing against concrete where no one stands. Doors may creak open and close on their own, and tools or equipment sometimes appear slightly moved from their previous positions. Some witnesses have noted cold spots, sudden drafts that appear in otherwise calm and heated areas, as if invisible figures are moving among the machinery. These occurrences are most common during the long winter nights, when darkness and isolation amplify subtle sounds and shadows. Many who experience it describe the sensation not merely as fear, but as the palpable presence of those who maintained and operated the airport in decades past. Spectral lights drifting across the runway are among the most dramatic and widely reported phenomena. Pilots flying in for nighttime landings have described seeing small points of light moving slowly along the tarmac, appearing like aircraft navigation lights, but without any accompanying sound or physical plane. The lights often shift in patterns that suggest purposeful movement, sometimes hovering near runway markers or taxiways before fading entirely. Ground crews have also observed these phenomena, noting that the lights do not correspond to any known vehicles, maintenance equipment, or nearby settlements. These ghostly illuminations create an uncanny atmosphere, as if the airport itself is alive with echoes of past activity, replaying moments long vanished from memory. The history of Sitka and its airport provides context for these hauntings. The area has been a critical hub for aviation since the early 20th century, particularly for bush pilots and coastal aviators who transported supplies, mail, and passengers across the challenging Alaskan terrain. The region's unpredictable weather, rugged coastline, and isolated islands made flying a perilous endeavor. Many pilots lost their lives navigating fog, storms, and icy conditions. Their experiences etched into the collective memory of the airport. Locals believe that these aviators' spirits remain tethered to the place where they worked and lived, manifesting in shadowy forms, ghostly footsteps, and spectral lights as echoes of their devotion and unfinished business. Auditory phenomena complement the visual experiences. Some pilots report hearing faint engine roars, the creak of landing gear, or the hum of propellers in hangars that are otherwise empty. Whispered voices carrying flight instructions, weather updates, or casual conversation have been noted by both aircrew and ground personnel. These sounds are often brief and indistinct, vanishing the moment someone attempts to investigate their source. Paranormal investigators visiting the airport have recorded low-frequency vibrations and faint static that appear unconnected to any equipment, reinforcing the impression that Sitka Rocky Gutierrez is a place where echoes of the past can emerge in ways both audible and visible. Despite the eerie nature of these encounters, most who witness them describe the phenomena as reverent rather than malevolent. Pilots often interpret the shadowy figures and ghostly lights as protective, watching over late-night operations and guiding aircraft safely to the tarmac. Ground crews speak of feeling observed or accompanied rather than threatened, and many consider the experiences as reminders of the skill, bravery, and dedication of those who worked at the airport before them. The haunting becomes less a source of fear and more a connection to history, a way to experience the presence of aviation pioneers in a tangible, if ethereal, form. Some of the most compelling accounts involve simultaneous sensory experiences. One pilot described seeing a shadowy figure pacing along the taxiway while the faint hum of an engine echoed from the runway. Another ground crew member reported ghostly lights drifting across the tarmac as soft footsteps echoed in an empty hangar, leaving a cold spot where the figure had passed. These moments create a sense of layered reality, where the present intersects with the memory and spirit of the past, allowing the airport's history to manifest vividly before witnesses. Even in the era of GPS, radar, and modern communication, Sitka, Rocky Gutierrez Airport remains a site where the past is never truly gone. The combination of long, Arctic nights, coastal fog, and remote location makes subtle phenomena strikingly vivid. Pilots, crew, and visitors have come to accept these experiences as part of the airport's identity, a unique aspect of its living history. Sitka Rocky Gutierrez is not merely a hub for aviation. It is a space where memory, history, and spectral presence coexist, a place where the echoes of early aviators continue to traverse runways and hangars long after their final flights. Kodiak Airport, located on Kodiak Island off the southern coast of Alaska, serves as a critical aviation hub for one of the state's most remote and weather-beaten regions. By day, the airport manages a steady flow of commercial flights, cargo deliveries, and general aviation, connecting island residents with the mainland and providing vital supplies. Yet, when the sun sets and the fog rolls in from the surrounding seas, the airport takes on an eerie, almost otherworldly character. Pilots and ground crews alike have reported strange occurrences, phantom aircraft taking off and vanishing into the dense coastal fog, shadowy figures moving through old hangars, and tools and equipment mysteriously displaced, as if handled by unseen hands. Over the years, these reports have earned Kodiak Airport a reputation as one of Alaska's most haunted aviation sites. One of the most commonly described phenomena is the appearance of phantom aircraft. Pilots flying into Kodiak late at night often report seeing planes on the runway or taxiways, their lights blinking faintly through the thick fog. These aircraft appear fully functional, complete with visible propellers or navigation lights, yet they vanish without a trace when approached or tracked on radar. Some pilots have described moments where the spectral plane seems to taxi alongside them, moving with a ghostly precision, only to dissolve into the mist moments before touchdown. The experience is disorienting, leaving pilots unsure if what they saw was a trick of the fog, a hallucination caused by fatigue, or something far more inexplicable. Many believe that these phantom flights are echoes of aviators who navigated Kodiak Island's treacherous skies in decades past, their spirits continuing to perform familiar routines long after their lives ended. Inside the airport's older hangars, ground crews have recounted encounters with shadowy figures. These apparitions are typically humanoid in shape, sometimes appearing to wear the heavy coats, boots, and goggles of early bush pilots or mechanics. Workers report seeing the figures moving quietly among tools and equipment, adjusting aircraft parts, or seemingly conducting routine inspections. In several accounts, tools and machinery are found in different positions the following morning, as if someone had worked through the night, though no one was present. Some witnesses have felt sudden chills, cold drafts, or the sensation of being observed, reinforcing the impression that Kodiak Airport is a space haunted by its own history and the spirits of those who shaped it. Pilots flying over the island at night have also reported unusual instrument activity. Compasses, altimeters, and navigation systems occasionally fluctuate without explanation when passing near the airport. While some attribute these anomalies to geomagnetic interference or weather conditions, others suggest a more spectral cause. Multiple accounts describe pilots sensing a guiding presence, particularly during dense fog or low visibility, as if unseen hands are subtly influencing their aircraft to avoid danger or stay on course. For many aviators, this sensation is at once unnerving and strangely reassuring, a ghostly echo of Kodiak's early bush pilots who mastered these skies under far more perilous conditions. Auditory phenomena complement these visual sightings. Ground crews and pilots have reported hearing the faint hum of engines, the creak of landing gear, and even the clatter of tools being handled in empty hangars. Some have claimed to hear muffled voices, whispers of flight instructions, or casual conversation between unseen figures, though the source is never identifiable. Paranormal investigators who have visited Kodiak Airport recorded low-frequency vibrations and faint static noises that seem to emanate from the older structures, adding to the growing sense that the airport is alive with residual energy from past operations. The history of Kodiak Island and its airport helps to contextualize these spectral occurrences. Early aviation in Kodiak was a daring and often deadly pursuit. Pilots faced unpredictable weather, including sudden fog banks, strong coastal winds, and blinding snowstorms. Many flights ended in crashes or forced landings in the island's rugged terrain. The aviation pioneers who survived these conditions became local legends, their courage and skill celebrated by the communities they connected. Locals believe that the spirits of those who perished in the line of duty remain tethered to Kodiak Airport, replaying their routines in the form of phantom aircraft and shadowy figures, preserving the memory of their work and the dangers they endured. Even more remarkable are the simultaneous sensory experiences reported by some witnesses. Pilots describe seeing a ghostly plane taxiing along a runway while hearing the faint whine of its engine through the cockpit speakers. Ground crews report shadowy figures moving tools while faint echoes of voices drift through hangars. These layered experiences create a sense that past and present are intersecting, allowing history to manifest tangibly for those who witness it. The airport becomes a living museum of sorts, where the memories of early aviators play out against a backdrop of modern aviation. Despite the unnerving nature of these encounters, many witnesses describe them as awe-inspiring rather than threatening. Pilots interpret phantom aircraft and spectral presences as protective or guiding, particularly during challenging flights in dense fog or stormy conditions. Ground crews often report feeling accompanied rather than harassed, as if the spirits are performing unfinished duties rather than seeking to harm. This perspective has allowed Kodiak Airport to maintain a sense of reverence for its haunting, with spectral occurrences viewed as reminders of the courage, dedication, and perseverance of the island's early aviators. Kodiak Airport's remoteness, frequent fog, and long winter nights amplify these experiences, creating an environment where subtle phenomena can appear vividly. Pilots and crews have come to expect the unexpected, knowing that the airport's spectral inhabitants are as much a part of the landscape as the mountains and sea. Shadowy figures, phantom aircraft, and ghostly activity are woven into the identity of the airport, making it a place where the past lingers and the memory of those who shaped Kodiak's aviation history continues to live. Homer Airport, nestled on the southern tip of Alaska's Kenai Peninsula, serves as a critical link between the remote town of Homer and the vast, rugged wilderness that surrounds it. By day, the airport manages a modest flow of flights, from small commercial aircraft to private planes and cargo deliveries that bring supplies to the peninsula. Yet as evening descends and the last flights depart Homer, Airport becomes something altogether different, a place where pilots and visitors have reported unexplained phenomena, from sudden chills to shadowy figures on abandoned airstrips, and even ghostly planes hovering silently before vanishing into the clouds. These eerie encounters have earned the airport a reputation as one of Alaska's most haunted aviation sites, where history, memory, and the supernatural converge in unsettling ways. Many reports begin with the sensation of sudden cold. Visitors walking near abandoned portions of the airfield frequently describe feeling abrupt temperature drops, sometimes accompanied by the sense that they are being watched. The air feels heavy, charged with an unseen presence, and the silence is occasionally broken by faint, inexplicable sounds, the rustle of fabric, the distant creak of an aircraft, or the whisper of a wind that seems to carry voices. In some cases, travelers report seeing shadowy figures moving along the tarmac or standing near old hangars. These forms are often indistinct, shifting in and out of view, appearing for only a moment before disappearing entirely. Witnesses frequently describe a sense of familiarity in these apparitions, as if the figures belong to another era of the airport's long and storied past. Pilots flying over Homer Airport at night often recount seeing ghostly aircraft hovering just above the runway or taxiway. These planes appear fully formed, their lights blinking faintly through low-hanging clouds or coastal fog. Yet they emit no sound, and they often vanish when approached or tracked by instruments. Some pilots describe watching these spectral aircraft perform maneuvers impossible for their size or design, hovering silently in the air, banking with uncanny precision, and then disappearing entirely into the mist. The experience is both awe-inspiring and unsettling, leaving a lingering sense of wonder mixed with unease. Many local aviators believe these phantom planes are echoes of early bush pilots who flew Homer's skies in the decades before modern navigation, spirits bound to the airport by their devotion and the perilous conditions in which they worked. Inside the airport's hangars and maintenance areas, shadowy activity is common. Workers have reported seeing figures moving tools or inspecting planes when no one is present. Occasionally, objects are found slightly out of place in the morning, as if someone or something has been working through the night. Some ground crews have experienced sudden chills or the sensation of being brushed by an unseen presence while performing routine tasks. Others hear the faint hum of engines, the clatter of metal, or distant footsteps echoing through empty spaces. The combination of visual, auditory, and tactile experiences suggests that Homer Airport is a place where past and present intersect, where echoes of previous aviators and workers persist in subtle, yet tangible ways. Radio anomalies also accompany these sightings. Pilots have reported hearing static field transmissions or faint voices over the airwaves, often delivering weather updates, flight instructions, or casual conversation, only for the sound to vanish when a response is attempted. Ground crews have similarly heard these unexplained communications emanating from abandoned or unused equipment. The sources are never identifiable, leaving an unsettling sense that the airport is alive with residual energy, replaying fragments of aviation history as if caught in a temporal echo. The history of Homer Airport and its role in Alaskan aviation provides context for these hauntings. From its early days, the airport served as a vital hub for bush pilots transporting supplies, mail, and passengers across the Kenai Peninsula and beyond. The region's unpredictable weather-dense fog, sudden storms, and harsh coastal winds made flying a dangerous endeavor. Many early aviators lost their lives navigating these treacherous conditions, and locals believe that the spirits of those who perished linger in the airport's airstrips, hangars, and surrounding fields. Shadowy figures, ghostly planes, and sudden chills are thought to be manifestations of these past pilots, replaying fragments of their lives and work in a spectral, eternal routine. Witnesses often report multisensory experiences that combine sight, sound, and touch. Pilots have described seeing ghostly planes hovering over the tarmac, while instruments flicker unpredictably and faint engine hums resonate through the cockpit. Ground crews have observed shadowy figures moving tools in hangars, accompanied by sudden temperature drops and whispered voices. These layered phenomena create the impression that past and present coexist in the same space, momentarily allowing the living to witness the echoes of Homer's aviation history. Despite the unsettling nature of these experiences, many who encounter them describe a sense of reverence rather than fear. Pilots often feel guided by the phantom aircraft, interpreting their presence as protective during challenging flights through fog or storms. Ground crews report feeling watched over, as if the spirits are ensuring that operations run smoothly even in the quiet hours. This perception transforms the haunting into a tributor, reminder of the skill, courage, and dedication of the early aviators who shaped Homer Airport. Even with modern technology, Homer Airport's remote location, coastal fog, and long winter nights create the ideal environment for these phenomena to appear vividly. Pilots, crew members, and visitors have come to expect the unexpected, accepting the airport's ghostly activity as part of its identity. Homer Airport is more than a place of travel. It is a living monument to the men and women who first braved its skies, a site where history and memory persist in tangible, spectral forms. Gustavus Airport, located on the edge of Glacier Bay in southeastern Alaska, serves as a vital gateway to one of the state's most remote and scenic regions. By day, the small airport hums with activity. Charter planes bring tourists eager to explore Glacier Bay National Park. Cargo flights deliver essential supplies, and local pilots maintain connections with nearby communities. Yet after night falls, and the last aircraft departs, Gustavus Airport takes on an entirely different character. Pilots, ground crews, and visitors have reported a variety of unusual phenomena. From mysterious lights moving along the runway to ghostly figures lingering in the fog near long-abandoned wooden hangars. These sightings have earned Gustavus Airport a reputation as one of Alaska's more haunted aviation sites, where history, isolation, and the supernatural converge in unnerving ways. One of the most commonly reported phenomena involves strange, unexplained lights along the runway. Pilots approaching the airport after dark often describe seeing small points of illumination drifting slowly across the tarmac, moving in patterns that suggest intention rather than random movement. Some lights appear to follow the edges of the runway, while others hover near taxiways or glide over open hangar spaces. These luminous orbs do not correspond to any operational aircraft or ground equipment, and they vanish when approached, leaving no trace of their presence. Several pilots have recounted moments when the lights seemed to guide their approach, subtly shifting in the fog to align with their descent path, only to disappear completely once they had landed safely. Many local aviators interpret these lights as the lingering spirits of early pilots or airport workers, performing phantom routines from decades past. In addition to the lights, shadowy figures are frequently observed near the old wooden hangars that line parts of the airfield. These hangars, long abandoned and weathered by time and harsh coastal winds, serve as focal points for paranormal activity. Witnesses describe humanoid shapes moving among the structures, often partially obscured by dense fog that rolls in from Glacier Bay. The figures are seldom fully visible. Their outlines flicker and shift, like smoke or mist given form. Ground crews, working late or arriving for early flights, have reported seeing these figures inspecting planes or moving tools, only to find nothing out of place when they investigate. Some describe sudden chills, a feeling of being watched, or an almost tangible presence brushing past them, creating a mixture of fear and awe. Auditory phenomena accompany these visual sightings. Pilots and ground personnel have reported hearing faint engine roars, the clatter of tools, or footsteps echoing across empty tarmacs and hangar floors. Some have claimed to hear fragments of conversation, whether reports, flight instructions, or casual chatter, though no living person is present. Paranormal investigators visiting the site have recorded low-frequency hums and unexplained static on radios and communication devices, further suggesting that Gustavus Airport is a space where past and present overlap in subtle, yet persistent ways. The history of Gustavus Airport and its surrounding area helps contextualize these spectral experiences. Established in the early days of Alaskan aviation, the airport served as a critical hub for pilots transporting supplies, mail, and passengers across rugged terrain and treacherous coastal waters. Early aviators faced unpredictable weather, including dense fog, high winds, and sudden storms. Many flights ended in crash landings, emergency stops, or vanished entirely into the wilderness. The wooden hangars that remain today were once bustling centers of maintenance and operations, where pilots and mechanics labored tirelessly to keep aircraft airworthy under challenging conditions. Locals believe that the spirits of those who perished or dedicated their lives to aviation linger here, replaying their routines and maintaining a spectral presence on the runways and hangars. Pilots frequently describe layered sensory experiences that combine sight, sound, and touch. One account involves a pilot seeing a ghostly light gliding along the runway while faint engine hums resonate through the cockpit and the temperature drops suddenly. Another ground crew member reported shadowy figures moving tools in a hangar accompanied by unexplained drafts and distant whispers. These multisensory encounters create the impression that the airport exists simultaneously in both the present and the past, allowing glimpses of its history to manifest in tangible, sometimes startling ways. Despite the eerie nature of these events, many witnesses describe a sense of reverence rather than terror. Pilots interpret the lights and ghostly figures as protective or guiding presences, especially when navigating the dense coastal fog or the long nights of winter. Ground crews often feel watched over rather than threatened, as if the spirits continue to care for the airport and its aircraft. In this way, the haunting becomes a tribute to the courage, dedication, and skill of early aviators and airport personnel, preserving their memory while blending it seamlessly with the modern-day operations of Gustavus Airport. Even with modern navigation systems, radar, and advanced communication, Gustavus Airport's isolation, persistent fog, and long winter nights provide fertile ground for these phenomena to manifest. Visitors and aviators have come to expect the unexpected, knowing that shadowy figures, unexplained lights, and sudden chills are part of the airport's identity. In this remote corner of Alaska, the past refuses to stay buried, and history asserts itself through ghostly echoes in both air and earth. Wrangell Airport, located on the remote Alexander Archipelago in southeastern Alaska, serves as a vital connection for the small town of Wrangell and surrounding communities. By day, it is a hub for small commercial flights, cargo deliveries, and private planes transporting locals and tourists alike. Yet, when twilight falls and the last planes have departed, Wrangell Airport takes on an altogether different, eerie character. Pilots, ground crews, and visitors have reported a range of unsettling phenomena, including shadowy figures at the edges of runways, phantom engine noises echoing through empty hangars, and mysterious footprints appearing overnight. These experiences have earned Wrangell Airport a reputation as one of Alaska's most haunted aviation sites, where the past seems to bleed into the present. One of the most frequently reported occurrences involves shadowy figures seen along the runway. Pilots approaching or departing the airport at night describe seeing dark silhouettes standing near the tarmac or moving slowly along the edges. These figures often appear human in shape, sometimes tall and thin, other times shorter and hunched. But their features are impossible to distinguish in the dim light. Many pilots have reported feeling a chill when passing near these apparitions, as if a sudden cold wind were brushing against their cockpit. In some instances, the figures appear to watch the aircraft silently, disappearing without a trace when approached or illuminated by landing lights. The consistency of these reports over decades suggests a lingering presence, perhaps of those who once worked or flew in Wrangell skies. Ground crews have also described unusual auditory phenomena, phantom engine noises ranging from the low hum of idling propellers to the roar of starting turbines echo across the tarmac when no aircraft is present. At times, the sounds are accompanied by the impression of movement, as if invisible planes are taxiing or taking off. These noises can be disorienting, particularly during late-night shifts when the airport is otherwise silent. Crews have reported moments where the sound seems to come from every direction at once, fading abruptly as if swallowed by the cold night air. Some believe that these phantom engines are echoes of past aviators, a manifestation of the countless flights that have taken place over Wrangell since the airport's earliest days. Perhaps most eerie are the mysterious footprints that appear overnight. Airport staff arriving for early morning shifts often find single sets of shoe prints or boot tracks on tarmacs, taxiways, or near hangars, even in areas that have been carefully cleared of snow or debris. The footprints frequently lead toward darkened hangars or the edge of the runway, but vanish without explanation, leaving no evidence of a person, animal, or vehicle that could have created them. In combination with the shadowy figures and phantom noises, these prints reinforce the sense that Wrangell Airport is haunted by presences that operate just beyond the reach of human perception. Pilots flying over the airport at night have also reported unusual sensations while approaching or departing. Instruments occasionally fluctuate inexplicably, compasses twitch, and radios crackle with faint static or whispered voices. Some aviators describe the feeling of being subtly guided by an unseen hand, particularly when navigating low-visibility conditions caused by fog or stormy weather. Others experience sudden chills, goosebumps, or the impression of eyes upon them, even when alone in the cockpit. Many attribute these phenomena to the spirits of early pilots who lost their lives in the region's notoriously treacherous conditions, fog, high winds, and unpredictable coastal weather that challenged every flight. Inside the airport's hangars, shadowy figures continued to appear, often among rows of parked aircraft, old tools, and storage areas. Ground crews report seeing human-like shapes gliding past, sometimes interacting with equipment. Tools are occasionally found, slightly displaced, or doors left ajar that were secured the previous evening. Some have felt the sensation of being gently touched on the shoulder or back by unseen hands, accompanied by the faint smell of fuel or oil, as if a pilot or mechanic were performing familiar pre-flight routines. Paranormal investigators who have visited the airport recorded low-frequency vibrations and unexplained movement on security cameras, adding further credibility to the reports. The history of Wrangell Airport helps explain why so many spirits might remain tethered to this location. Established during the early days of Alaskan aviation, the airport was essential for connecting the isolated town to other communities, transporting supplies, mail, and passengers through rugged terrain and harsh weather. Early pilots and ground crews often faced life-threatening conditions, and the airport's remote location meant that help was frequently far away. Many aviators perished in accidents, leaving their spirits bound to the place where they had dedicated their lives. The hangars, tarmacs, and runways serve as the stage for residual energy ghostly echoes of work, flight, and lives interrupted too soon. Witnesses often report layered, multisensory experiences. A pilot may see a shadowy figure at the runway's edge while hearing the faint roar of an invisible engine and feeling a sudden chill. Ground crews may hear footsteps in empty hangars while noticing tools slightly out of place and catching the faint smell of fuel in the cold night air. These experiences suggest that Wrangell Airport is a space where the past and present coexist, allowing fleeting glimpses of aviation history to manifest in the physical world. Despite the unsettling nature of these encounters, many locals and aviators describe them with a sense of reverence rather than fear. Pilots often feel guided by the spirits during challenging approaches, interpreting phantom figures and noises as protective. Ground crews sometimes feel watched over rather than threatened, as if the airport's spectral inhabitants are continuing to fulfill duties left incomplete decades ago. In this way, the haunting becomes a living tribute to the courage, dedication, and perseverance of those who shaped Wrangell Airport's history. Bethel Municipal Field, located in the remote Yukon-Kuskokwim Delta of southwestern Alaska, serves as a crucial hub for transportation in a region where roads are sparse and the wilderness dominates. By day, the airport bustles with activity: small commercial flights, cargo deliveries, medevac operations, and private planes coming and going from the Delta communities. Yet when night falls, the airport transforms into a realm where the boundaries between past and present blur. Pilots, ground crews, and local residents have reported witnessing phantom pilots walking along deserted taxiways, hearing distress calls on radios that have no source, and seeing ghostly aircraft silhouetted against the shimmering aurora borealis. Bethel Municipal Field has become known not only for its vital role in connecting communities, but also as one of Alaska's most haunted aviation sites, where the spirits of the Delta skies are said to linger. The first and most commonly reported phenomenon involves shadowy figures appearing on the empty taxiway. Pilots approaching or leaving the airport in the quiet of night have seen human-shaped silhouettes moving purposefully across tarmacs, often dressed in the attire of early aviators. These figures are fleeting, visible for only moments, and vanish when illuminated by landing lights or vehicle headlights. Witnesses describe an eerie feeling of being watched, as though these spectral pilots are performing routine checks, preparing aircraft, or guiding flights along the long, narrow runways. The figures seem both familiar and otherworldly, a haunting reminder of the human presence that shaped the airport's history. Phantom planes are another frequent occurrence. Pilots flying over Bethel Municipal Field at night or under the glow of the northern lights have reported seeing aircraft appear in the distance, their forms sharply outlined against the colorful sky. These ghostly planes are often silent, hovering or moving slowly along the approach path. They sometimes mimic the maneuvers of active aircraft but vanish when approached, leaving no trace on radar or instruments. Some pilots interpret these spectral planes as echoes of bush pilots who braved Alaska's harsh conditions in decades past. Their devotion to flight binding them to the airport even after death. Unexplained radio transmissions add to the sense of haunting. Pilots and air traffic personnel have reported hearing distress calls, routine flight check-ins, or casual cockpit chatter coming from radios with no active source. The voices are often faint, distorted, and intermixed with static, sometimes appearing to originate from specific points along the runway or taxiway. Attempts to respond to these transmissions yield nothing, and the voices disappear abruptly, leaving a chilling silence in their wake. Many speculate that these radio anomalies are the lingering communications of pilots who perished in accidents or experienced emergencies during the early days of Bethel's aviation history, replaying their final moments across the Delta skies. Ground crews working late or arriving for early morning shifts also report unusual experiences. Footsteps echo along deserted hangars. Tools are found displaced, and lights flicker without explanation. Some have felt the sensation of a presence brushing past them, or heard soft whispers that cannot be traced to any living person. Shadowy forms sometimes move through storage areas, or stand near parked aircraft, vanishing when approached. These occurrences suggest that Bethel Municipal Field is a space where the past and present coexist, allowing glimpses of history to emerge in tangible, sometimes unsettling ways. The history of Bethel Municipal Field provides context for these ghostly phenomena. Established in the mid-20th century, the airport became a lifeline for the Delta, connecting remote communities to medical care, supplies, and the broader world. Pilots working in this region faced unpredictable weather, icy winds, dense fog, and sudden storms, often navigating treacherous conditions with limited equipment. Many early aviators lost their lives while flying over the Delta or attempting to land on its runways. Ground crews, too, endured harsh winters, long nights, and dangerous workloads. Locals believe that the spirits of these men and women bound by dedication and sometimes by tragedy remain tethered to the airport, their presence manifesting in lights, shadows, and phantom sounds. Multiple senses are often engaged during these encounters, making them particularly vivid. Pilots describe seeing ghost planes hovering above the tarmac while hearing faint engine roars and radio chatter, accompanied by sudden chills in the cockpit. Ground crews report feeling the presence of invisible figures while tools move slightly on their own, and the air carries faint, unexplained sounds. These layered experiences create the impression that the airport is a conduit for history itself, allowing the living to momentarily intersect with the lives and labors of those who came before. Despite the eerie and sometimes unsettling nature of these experiences, many pilots and personnel report a sense of reverence rather than fear. Phantom figures and spectral planes are often interpreted as protective or guiding presences, helping pilots navigate the complex and often unforgiving Delta skies. Ground crews sometimes feel watched over, as if the spirits continue to ensure that operations run smoothly and safely. In this way, the haunting of Bethel Municipal Field serves as a tribute to the courage, resilience, and skill of the early aviators and personnel who forged a path through one of the most challenging aviation environments in the world. Unalaska, Dutch Harbor Airport, perched on the rugged Aleutian island of Unalaska, is a lifeline for one of Alaska's most remote and storm-battered communities. By day, the airport hums with activity. Cargo planes bring supplies to sustain the island. Passenger flights connect residents to the mainland, and fishing crews move swiftly between vessels and aircraft. Yet after night falls, when the roar of engines and the bustle of ground crews fade into silence, the airport takes on an entirely different character. Pilots, airport personnel, and visitors alike have reported ghostly aircraft landing silently on the tarmac, shadowy figures moving through abandoned hangars, and tools shifting as though operated by invisible hands. Dutch Harbor Airport has earned a reputation as one of the most haunted aviation sites in Alaska, a place where the harshness of the Aleutian environment meets the lingering spirits of aviation history. One of the most striking phenomena involves phantom aircraft. Pilots approaching the airport at night often report seeing planes glide silently across the runway or hovering just above the tarmac. These aircraft appear fully formed, complete with lights and identifiable silhouettes. Yet when crews inspect the landing area afterward, there are no tire marks or physical traces of a landing. Some witnesses have described the ghostly planes performing entire landing sequences, slowing to a halt and taxiing toward hangars before fading into the mist. The fleeting nature of these sightings, combined with the remote, fog-shrouded location of the airport, has led many to believe that the spirits of pilots from decades past continue to patrol the skies above Unalaska, eternally replaying routines that were once vital for survival in this unforgiving region. Shadowy figures are another common occurrence at Dutch Harbor. Airport personnel report seeing human-like silhouettes moving through the hangars, often in areas long abandoned or seldom used. These figures are rarely fully visible. They appear as dark shapes with indistinct edges, gliding silently among parked aircraft or maintenance equipment. Witnesses frequently describe feeling a presence and awareness that they are being watched or guided while performing their duties. Sometimes, tools and machinery seem to move independently, as though the figures are completing pre-flight checks, repairing engines, or performing other tasks invisible to the living. Security cameras occasionally capture these movements, showing blurred shapes that vanish upon closer inspection. Auditory phenomena further enhance the airport's eerie reputation. Personnel have reported hearing the hum of engines, the clatter of tools, and even distant cockpit chatter when no planes or crews are present. These sounds can be fleeting, fading as suddenly as they arrive, leaving an unsettling silence in their wake. On rare occasions, the voices seem to call out flight instructions or emergency codes, prompting confusion and caution among pilots and ground crews. Radios have been known to pick up faint, distorted transmissions, crackling with static and unintelligible commands, seemingly originating from no source at all. Many interpret these auditory events as echoes of early aviators' work, preserved by the airport's isolation and harsh environment. The history of Dutch Harbor and its airport contributes to the intensity of these hauntings. Established to support fishing fleets, cargo, transport, and connections to the Alaskan mainland, the airport has long faced extreme weather, dense fog, high winds, and icy runways. Pilots navigating these conditions risked their lives routinely, and several perished while attempting to land or take off in treacherous circumstances. The hangars and tarmac that now host modern flights were once sites of constant maintenance, emergency repairs, and hurried preparations, often conducted under freezing temperatures and stormy skies. Locals believe that the spirits of these men and women, bound by duty and sometimes by tragedy, remain tethered to the airport, replaying their routines and guarding the airfield long after their earthly lives ended. Many encounters at Dutch Harbor are multisensory, engaging sight, sound, and touch. Pilots have reported seeing ghost planes while feeling sudden chills in the cockpit and hearing faint engine roars in empty airspace. Ground crews have described shadowy figures gliding past while sensing air movement, detecting faint smells of fuel or oil, and witnessing tools and equipment shift seemingly on their own. These layered experiences create the impression that the airport exists simultaneously in both the present and the past, allowing glimpses of aviation history to manifest in tangible, sometimes unsettling ways. Despite the unsettling nature of these experiences, many witnesses approach them with a sense of reverence rather than fear. Pilots interpret the phantom aircraft as protective presences, helping guide approaches in fog or storms. Ground crews often feel watched over, believing that the spirits continue to ensure the safety and operation of the airport. In this sense, the haunting becomes less a source of terror and more a testament to the courage, skill, and dedication of those who shaped aviation in the Aleutians. A reminder that even in death, their commitment endures. Kenai Municipal Airport, nestled along the rugged coastline of Alaska's Kenai Peninsula, serves as a critical gateway to the region, connecting remote communities with the rest of the state. By day, the airport is a hub of activity. Small commercial flights ferry passengers to Anchorage and beyond. Cargo planes deliver essential supplies, and private aircraft shuttle tourists exploring the peninsula's wilderness. Yet after the sun dips below the horizon and the last flights depart, Kenai Municipal Airport transforms into a place where the familiar hum of aviation fades and the air seems charged with a more mysterious energy. Pilots, ground crews, and visitors have reported spectral lights hovering near hangars, shadowy figures moving silently across the tarmac, and ghostly aircraft taxiing along empty runways before vanishing into the mist. Over the years, these phenomena have cemented the airport's reputation as one of Alaska's most haunted aviation sites. One of the most common experiences reported involves ghostly aircraft appearing on the runways. Pilots approaching Kenai Municipal Airport at night describe seeing planes glide silently across the tarmac, their lights glowing faintly in the darkness. These aircraft often appear fully formed, complete with identifiable fuselages and wings, yet when checked, the runway is empty and there are no tire tracks or other evidence of a landing. Some witnesses report that the planes move with a deliberate purpose, as though taxiing to a hangar, only to disappear suddenly into the fog or darkness. These sightings are most frequent during periods of low visibility, particularly when a thick coastal mist blankets the airfield, giving the apparitions an ethereal quality. Many pilots believe these ghost planes are echoes of aviators from earlier decades, their spirits still performing the routines they once carried out in life. In addition to spectral aircraft, shadowy figures are often observed near the hangars and maintenance areas. Ground crews and visitors describe dark silhouettes moving silently among parked planes, seemingly performing familiar tasks, inspecting engines, adjusting equipment, or walking along the tarmac. These figures rarely reveal distinct features, appearing instead as dark shapes with blurred outlines, sometimes fleeting and sometimes lingering long enough to evoke a chilling sense of presence. Tools and machinery have been reported moving inexplicably, as if guided by invisible hands, and lights occasionally flicker or turn on in empty hangars without any electrical explanation. Security cameras and night vision equipment occasionally capture fleeting movements or shadows that cannot be traced to any human source, reinforcing the sense that the airport's spectral inhabitants continue their work unseen. Auditory phenomena complement the visual hauntings. Ground crews have reported hearing the faint hum of engines, the soft clatter of maintenance tools, or indistinct radio chatter emanating from abandoned areas. Pilots approaching the airport sometimes pick up transmissions on inactive frequencies, static-laden voices repeating instructions or flight checks that make no sense in the moment. These sounds are often intermittent, fading abruptly, leaving an uncanny silence in their wake. Some interpret these auditory anomalies as echoes of the airport's past, residual imprint of the countless flights, maintenance routines, and emergency responses that shaped Kenai Municipal Airport over decades. The history of Kenai Municipal Airport helps explain the persistence of these spectral phenomena. Established to serve the remote communities of the Kenai Peninsula, the airport has long faced extreme weather conditions. Sudden storms, dense fog, strong coastal winds, and icy runways. Pilots navigating these conditions risked their lives daily, particularly during the airport's early years, when navigational aids were rudimentary and aircraft were less reliable. Many aviators lost their lives attempting landings or takeoffs in treacherous conditions, and ground crews frequently endured long hours maintaining aircraft under harsh circumstances. The dedication, skill, and sometimes tragic fates of these men and women are believed to have left a spiritual imprint on the airport, with their presence manifesting in the shadowy figures, spectral aircraft, and phantom lights reported by witnesses. Visitors to Kenai Municipal Airport often experience multiple senses at once during these encounters. A pilot may see a ghost plane taxi silently along the runway while feeling a sudden chill in the cockpit and hearing faint engine sounds in the otherwise quiet night. Ground crews may notice tools shifting on their own while sensing a presence nearby and catching glimpses of shadowy figures in the corner of their vision. These layered experiences create a strong impression that the airport exists simultaneously in both the present and the past, where the echoes of those who lived and worked there long ago continue to play out across the tarmac and in the hangars. Despite the unsettling nature of these experiences, many witnesses approach them with respect rather than fear. Pilots often interpret ghostly aircraft as protective presences, subtly guiding approaches in difficult conditions. Ground crews sometimes feel the shadowy figures are watching over the airfield, ensuring the smooth operation of flights and maintenance. In this sense, the hauntings of Kenai Municipal Airport are seen less as malevolent and more as a tribute to the courage, perseverance, and devotion of early aviators and personnel who worked in one of the most challenging aviation environments in Alaska. Cold Bay Airport, located at the far western tip of Alaska's Aleutian Peninsula, is a remote airfield steeped in history and surrounded by some of the most rugged and unforgiving landscapes in the world. Originally constructed during World War II as a military airbase, it played a vital role in defending Alaska and supporting operations across the Aleutian Islands. Today, the airport serves commercial flights, cargo operations, and medevac services, connecting this isolated region with the rest of the state. Yet alongside its operational importance, Cold Bay Airport has long been associated with eerie tales of haunting, where ghostly pilots walk along deserted runways and phantom aircraft take off silently into the fog-laden night, echoing the wartime past that never fully left the land. Many of the reports from Cold Bay involve spectral figures, often described as aviators in full flight gear from the mid-20th century. Witnesses have seen them walking along runways or patrolling the tarmac, their movements deliberate and purposeful, as though they are inspecting aircraft or preparing for missions. These figures are fleeting, appearing just long enough to be noticed before dissolving into the mist or darkness. Pilots approaching the airport at night frequently report spotting shadows in the corners of their vision or out of the windows of their aircraft, only to find no one there when they land. Ground crews have described the sensation of being watched, an invisible presence walking alongside them, moving tools or touching equipment without leaving a trace. Phantom aircraft are another hallmark of Cold Bay's hauntings. Pilots flying over the airport on foggy nights often report seeing planes appear suddenly on the runway, lights glowing softly in the thick mist. These aircraft taxi, take off, or even circle the airfield silently, leaving no physical evidence of their presence. No tire marks, no exhaust, no sound of engines, only a fleeting vision that vanishes as the observer approaches. Some witnesses describe these planes as smaller military craft, reminiscent of World War II era fighters and bombers, while others have seen larger transport aircraft, silently moving as if replaying operations from the airport's busy wartime past. For many, these sightings are interpreted as residual energy echoes of the pilots who once flew from Cold Bay, their dedication and sacrifice lingering in the foggy air. Auditory phenomena are often reported alongside these visual experiences. Pilots have heard the hum of engines, the click of cockpit switches, or distant radio transmissions. Even when no aircraft are present, ground crews walking the tarmac at night sometimes hear footsteps or the low murmur of voices in the hangars. Radios have occasionally picked up crackling transmissions with indecipherable commands or call signs, as though pilots long deceased continue to communicate across frequencies that no longer carry active signals. These sounds often appear and vanish without explanation, leaving listeners with a sense of intrusion from a past era that has refused to fully fade. The history of Cold Bay Airport offers insight into why it has become a hotspot for paranormal activity. Constructed hastily during World War II, the airfield was a critical strategic location for the U.S. military, linking bases across the Aleutians and supporting combat and reconnaissance missions. Pilots flew in harsh weather, navigating fog, wind, and icy conditions over treacherous terrain. Many lost their lives during takeoffs, landings, and training exercises. Ground crews worked tirelessly under extreme conditions to maintain aircraft, often facing the same dangers. The combination of sacrifice, urgency, and loss created a concentrated environment of emotion and energy, which locals and visitors believe has lingered, manifesting as the ghostly phenomena reported at the airport today. Witnesses often describe multi-sensory encounters. A pilot might see a plane silently taxiing on a fog-covered runway, hear the distant roar of engines, and feel a sudden chill in the cockpit. Ground crews might see shadowy figures moving among parked aircraft, while tools and maintenance equipment shift inexplicably. Some have even reported smelling the scent of fuel or oil in areas where no work has been conducted. These layered experiences reinforce the impression that Kobe Airport is a space where past and present coexist, allowing glimpses of the lives and routines of those who once worked tirelessly on the airfield. Despite the unsettling nature of these experiences, many who witness them report a sense of respect rather than fear. Pilots interpret the ghostly aircraft as a form of guidance or protection, as if the spectral aviators continue to watch over the airfield. Ground crews often feel the presence of the spirits is protective, maintaining the airport's operations even in their absence. In this way, the hauntings of Kobe Airport are seen not merely as frightening apparitions, but as a testament to the courage, skill, and devotion of the men and women who shaped its history. McGrath Airport, nestled deep in the wilderness of Alaska's interior, serves as a critical lifeline for the small town of McGrath and the surrounding region. Surrounded by dense forests, winding rivers, and miles of untamed terrain, the airport is one of the few links between this remote community and the rest of the state. During the day, it is a hub of activity. Small planes transport supplies, passengers, and medevac patients, while pilots navigate the unpredictable weather that defines the region. Yet when night falls and the last flights depart, McGrath Airport transforms into a place where the boundaries between the living and the spectral blur. Shadowy figures are seen along the runways. Ghostly lights appear without source, and the spirits of early bush pilots are said to roam the airfield, guiding or warning travelers who dare to approach. The most common reports involve mysterious lights hovering above or along the runway. Pilots approaching McGrath Airport after dark have described soft, glowing orbs moving along the tarmac or appearing to lead planes toward landing areas. These lights often shift and flicker in ways that defy explanation, disappearing if a plane tries to approach directly. Some witnesses interpret the phenomenon as the guidance of spirit-surly bush pilots who once braved Alaska's treacherous skies, now continuing their work from beyond the grave. The appearance of these lights is most frequent during periods of fog, snow, or low clouds, when visibility is limited and the terrain is masked in shadows, creating an atmosphere both eerie and otherworldly. Shadowy figures are another consistent feature of the McGrath Airport hauntings. Ground crews and pilots alike have reported seeing human-like silhouettes walking along the runway or moving through hangars. These figures are rarely distinct, appearing as dark shapes or blurred outlines, often vanishing when approached. Some describe the sensation of being watched or followed, feeling a presence close enough to be tangible, yet leaving no physical trace. Equipment and tools have been known to shift on their own, as if invisible hands are performing maintenance or pre-flight checks. Occasionally, security cameras capture unexplained movement shadows gliding across hangar floors or darting near aircraft, though closer inspection reveals nothing tangible. Auditory phenomena frequently accompany these visual experiences. Pilots have reported hearing the faint hum of engines, the click of switches, or even snippets of conversation in the cockpit when no one else is present. Ground crews sometimes hear footsteps echoing across the tarmac or the distant murmur of voices in abandoned sections of the airfield. Radios occasionally pick up faint static-laden chatter, as if messages are being transmitted from planes or personnel long gone. These sounds often appear abruptly and fade just as suddenly, leaving a lingering sense that the airport itself is alive with echoes of the past. The history of McGrath Airport contributes to its haunted reputation. Established to connect remote communities in Alaska's interior, the airport has always faced extreme environmental challenges. Early bush pilots relied on skill, instinct, and courage to navigate the unforgiving wilderness, often flying in unpredictable weather over rivers, mountains, and forests. Many lost their lives during landings, takeoffs, or emergency missions. Ground crews worked under similarly harsh conditions, maintaining aircraft and assisting pilots in isolated and sometimes perilous circumstances. The combination of danger, dedication, and tragedy left an emotional imprint on the airfield, which locals believe persists today in the form of spectral sightings and mysterious phenomena. Visitors often experience multisensory encounters at McGrath Airport. Pilots approaching the airfield at night may see ghostly lights guiding the runway while feeling sudden chills and hearing faint engine roars in the otherwise silent night. Ground crews may witness shadowy figures moving through hangars while tools shift mysteriously, sensing the presence of spirits working unseen. Some have even noticed the faint smell of fuel or oil in areas where no maintenance has occurred. These layered experiences create the impression that McGrath Airport exists simultaneously in both the present and the past, allowing glimpses into the lives and routines of early aviators and ground personnel. Despite the unsettling nature of these phenomena, many pilots and crew approach them with a sense of respect rather than fear. The ghostly lights are often interpreted as protective beacons, guiding planes safely to the runway, while the shadowy figures are seen as watchful guardians of the airfield. Some pilots claim that they feel an inexplicable reassurance during landings when the spectral presence is sensed, as though the spirits of those who flew these skies long ago continue to ensure the safety of travelers. Ground crews frequently speak of the airfield as being watched over, where the spirits of bush pilots maintain a silent vigil, helping or warning those who work there today. Galena Airport, nestled along the banks of the Yukon River in Alaska's interior, serves as a critical hub for the small town of Galena and the surrounding wilderness communities. By day, it is a bustling link to the outside world. Cargo planes deliver supplies, medevac flights transport patients, and small aircraft ferry residents and tourists to other remote locations. But as night falls, the airport transforms. The familiar hum of aviation fades into silence, and the air seems charged with a lingering presence. Visitors and pilots alike report phantom engines roaring in empty hangars, shadowy figures moving along deserted runways, and spectral aircraft flying overhead, their lights appearing in the sky but never registering on radar. These phenomena have earned Galena Airport a reputation as one of Alaska's airiest airfields, where the past never quite leaves and the spirits of early aviators continue their silent work. The most frequently reported phenomena involve ghostly aircraft and lights. Pilots approaching Galena Airport after dark often describe seeing planes glide silently across the tarmac, their landing lights glowing faintly in the inky blackness. These aircraft appear complete and solid, yet when the observer lands or moves closer, there is nothing, no tire tracks, no sound, no evidence of a plane ever being there. In some cases, the lights hover in midair, tracing patterns across the sky, as if performing maneuvers that mimic training exercises from decades past. Witnesses say the lights move with intent, sometimes guiding incoming aircraft along safe paths through low-hanging fog, or disappearing abruptly, leaving an uncanny emptiness where moments before a plane seemed to exist. Some believe these are the spirits of early bush pilots who once flew perilous routes in the region, continuing their routines long after their mortal lives ended. Shadowy figures are another common feature of the airport's haunting. Ground crews and visitors report seeing silhouettes moving in hangars or walking along the runway late at night. These figures are rarely distinct, appearing as dark shapes or blurred outlines, often vanishing when approached. Some observers describe feeling an unseen presence brushing past them or standing close enough to be tangible, yet leaving no physical trace. Tools and equipment sometimes move inexplicably, as if invisible hands are performing preflight inspections or maintenance tasks. Security cameras occasionally capture fleeting shadows crossing hangar floors or slipping between parked aircraft, yet further investigation reveals no one present. These apparitions create a strong impression that the airport is alive with memories. The past echoing across the present informs both seen and unseen. Auditory phenomena frequently accompany the visual hauntings. Pilots have reported hearing the faint whine of engines or the click of cockpit switches, even when no planes are present. Ground crews often hear footsteps on the tarmac, the distant thrum of aircraft turbines, or murmured voices drifting through hangars and office buildings. Radios sometimes carry brief, static-laden transmissions, fragments of commands or checklists, which vanish as suddenly as they appear. These sounds are particularly common during nights with heavy fog, snow, or strong winds conditions that amplify the eerie atmosphere and heighten the sense of presence. Many interpret these auditory anomalies as echoes of the countless flights, maintenance routines, and emergencies that have played out at Galena Airport over the decades. The airport's history sheds light on its reputation for hauntings. Established to support transportation and defense in remote Alaska, Galena Airport has long been a place where aviators faced extreme challenges. Pilots navigated unpredictable weather, rugged terrain, and low visibility conditions, while ground crews worked tirelessly to maintain aircraft in a harsh and unforgiving environment. Many pilots lost their lives during emergency landings, training exercises, or routine flights in this treacherous region, leaving an indelible mark on the airfield. The combination of human skill, dedication, and tragedy is believed by locals and visitors to have created an enduring spiritual imprint, manifesting today as the ghostly aircraft, shadowy figures, and unexplained sounds reported by those who visit. Witnesses often experience multisensory encounters at Galena Airport. A pilot approaching from the air may see spectral lights guiding the runway, while simultaneously feeling a sudden chill in the cockpit and hearing faint engine noises. Ground crews may watch tools move on their own in empty hangars while sensing a presence nearby and glimpsing shadowy figures in peripheral vision. Sometimes, the faint scent of fuel or ozone accompanies these occurrences, adding another layer to the impression that the past is still actively present at the airfield. These combined experiences create a powerful sense that Galena Airport exists simultaneously in both the past and present, allowing visitors a glimpse of the lives and routines of the aviators who once called the airport home. Despite the unsettling nature of these phenomena, many who witness them approach with respect rather than fear. Pilots often interpret ghostly lights as protective guides, helping them navigate the runway safely in poor weather. Ground crews speak of the shadowy figures as watchful guardians, maintaining the airfield in ways invisible to the living. In this sense, the hauntings of Galena Airport are not seen as malevolent, but as a tribute to the courage, perseverance, and skill of early aviators and support personnel. These spirits are thought to ensure the safety of the airport while honoring the legacy of those who flew and maintained aircraft in this remote and dangerous environment. Fort Yukon Airport, situated in the far reaches of Alaska's interior along the Yukon River, is a lifeline for this remote community. Its small runway serves as the primary connection for residents, travelers, and essential supplies, cutting through a landscape dominated by endless forests, icy rivers, and snow-covered plains. By day, the airport functions as any small regional airfield might, with pilots navigating its short runway to deliver cargo or passengers and medevac services connecting Fort Yukon to larger hubs. Yet as night falls, and especially when the thick fog of the interior drifts across the airfield, the airport transforms into a place steeped in mystery. Pilots report ghostly aircraft appearing seemingly out of nowhere, their landing lights glowing in the mist but never appearing on radar. Ground crews and visitors speak of shadowy figures moving near hangars and taxiways, vanishing when approached, leaving behind an unsettling impression that the airport is haunted by the aviators of the past. The most commonly reported phenomena involve ghostly aircraft. Pilots flying into Fort Yukon on fog-laden nights often describe seeing planes silently taxiing along the runway or hovering briefly before vanishing into the mist. These aircraft appear complete and fully functional, with lights glowing softly in the fog, Some pilots report seeing them maneuver as if following preset flight patterns reminiscent of military or bush pilot routines from decades earlier. Attempting to confirm these sightings with radar or visual inspection yields nothing. The planes leave no tracks, no exhaust, and no evidence of ever being there. Many attribute these phantom planes to the spirits of early aviators, whose daily flights into the unforgiving Alaskan wilderness demanded extraordinary skill and courage. The airport's foggy conditions, especially common during autumn and early winter, create an ethereal atmosphere that seems to preserve these apparitions in the air and on the ground. Shadowy figures are another recurring feature of Fort Yukon Airport's supernatural reputation. Ground crews have reported dark silhouettes walking along runways or moving among hangars during late-night shifts. These figures are rarely distinct, often appearing as blurred shapes or vague outlines, yet their presence is unmistakable. Some observers describe a feeling of being watched or followed, as though invisible hands move unseen equipment or check aircraft in preparation for an unseen flight. Security cameras sometimes capture fleeting shadows slipping past hangars or along the perimeter, only for the footage to reveal nothing on playback. Visitors have reported sudden chills, hairs standing on end, or a brief feeling of weight on their shoulders. Experiences that coincide with the sightings of these mysterious figures. Auditory phenomena accompany many visual encounters. Pilots have heard the faint hum of engines, the soft click of switches, or even snippets of cockpit communication when no aircraft are present. Ground crews report hearing footsteps echoing across the runway, low murmurings near hangars, or the distant thrum of turbines that belong to no visible plane. Radios occasionally carry static-laden chatter commands, checklists, or even brief greetings that fade into silence before the words can be fully understood. These sounds often coincide with the appearance of phantom aircraft or shadowy figures, reinforcing the impression that the airport is alive with echoes of past activity. Locals say these auditory and visual phenomena are most frequent when the weather turns harsh, fog thickens, or visibility drops, as though the airport's spirits are drawn to the same conditions that challenged early aviators. The history of Fort Yukon Airport helps explain the presence of these apparitions. Established to support transportation and access to Alaska's interior, the airport became a critical hub for early bush pilots, whose flights required navigating treacherous terrain, icy rivers, and unpredictable weather. Many of these pilots lost their lives during landings, takeoffs, and emergency flights. Ground crews, working under extreme conditions to maintain aircraft and assist pilots, also faced significant danger. This combination of peril, skill, and dedication has left an enduring mark on the airfield. Locals and visitors believe that the concentrated emotions of these past events have imprinted themselves onto the environment, manifesting today as ghostly aircraft, shadowy figures, and unexplained sounds. Witnesses often describe multisensory experiences. A pilot may see ghostly lights on the runway, hear faint engine roars, and feel sudden chills inside the cockpit. Ground crews have noticed tools shifting mysteriously in hangars while perceiving shadowy figures moving in the corners of their vision. Some report the scent of fuel or oil in areas where no maintenance has taken place. These overlapping sensory experiences create a powerful impression that Fort Yukon Airport exists both in the present and as a living memory of past aviators. The phenomenon is not limited to a single observer. Multiple reports often corroborate one another, suggesting that the haunting is both pervasive and consistent. Despite the unnerving nature of these encounters, many pilots and crew members regard them with respect rather than fear. Ghostly lights are often interpreted as protective guides, leading aircraft safely to the runway during difficult conditions. Shadowy figures are seen as watchful guardians, ensuring the continued operation of the airfield and the safety of those working there. In this way, the hauntings of Fort Yukon Airport are not merely frightening. They are a tribute to the courage and skill of early aviators who braved one of the most challenging regions in the world. The spirits are thought to continue their work silently, guiding or warning those in the skies above and along the runways below. Bethel Airstrip, located in the heart of Alaska's vast Yukon-Kuskokwim Delta, serves as a vital lifeline for the remote village of Bethel and the surrounding communities. By day, it is a hub of activity. Small aircraft deliver supplies, transport passengers, and provide medical evacuation services across a sprawling, often impassable landscape. But as the long Alaskan night falls, the airstrip takes on a strange, otherworldly quality. Pilots and ground crews report eerie phenomena that suggest the presence of spirits tied to the airfield. Phantom planes are seen taxiing along empty runways, lights glowing in the dark, but leaving no tire tracks, no exhaust, and no trace on radar. Shadowy figures appear near hangars and along the tarmac, vanishing when approached, and sudden cold chills are experienced by staff, even on otherwise calm nights. These occurrences have created a reputation for Bethel Airstrip as one of the most haunted aviation sites in Alaska. The most frequently reported phenomenon involves ghostly aircraft. Pilots approaching the airstrip often see planes moving silently across the runway, their landing lights cutting through the fog and darkness. Sometimes, these aircraft appear to mimic the movements of real planes, taxiing into position as if preparing for takeoff or performing routine maneuvers. However, when pilots attempt to identify these aircraft visually or through instruments, there is nothing there, no radar contact, no tracks in the snow or gravel, and no evidence that a plane has ever occupied that space. Witnesses report that these ghostly aircraft are often seen during low visibility conditions, when fog, snow, or rain blankets the airfield, giving the apparitions an eerie, almost tangible presence. Locals believe these are the spirits of early bush pilots, many of whom lost their lives navigating the harsh and unpredictable skies of the region. Their dedication and courage, it seems, have left a lasting imprint on the airfield. Shadowy figures are another hallmark of Bethel Airstrip's hauntings. Ground crews frequently describe seeing dark silhouettes moving near hangars or along the taxiways during late-night operations. These forms are seldom distinct, often appearing as vague outlines or blurred shapes, but their presence is unmistakable. Many observers report feeling a subtle pressure or sudden awareness that they are not alone. Tools and equipment occasionally shift without explanation, as if invisible hands are performing pre-flight inspections or maintenance tasks. Some security cameras have caught fleeting images of shadows crossing empty hangar floors or moving along the perimeter of the runway, only for playback to reveal no human presence. Visitors often experience the unsettling combination of sight, sound, and touch, enhancing the impression that Bethel Airstrip is alive with memories of those who once operated there. Auditory phenomena frequently accompany these visual experiences. Pilots have reported hearing the faint roar of engines or the click of switches when no aircraft is present. Ground crews speak of footsteps echoing across the runway, the hum of turbines that do not belong to any visible plane, or voices issuing commands or warnings in the empty night. Radios sometimes carry static-laden transmissions, fragments of pilot instructions or routine checklists, which vanish before the words can be fully understood. These sounds often coincide with sightings of phantom aircraft or shadowy figures, creating a full sensory experience that suggests the past remains active on the airstrip. Some witnesses report brief gusts of wind or sudden drops in temperature, intensifying the sense of presence and adding a physical dimension to the spectral activity. The history of Bethel Airstrip provides context for its reputation. Established to connect remote communities in southwestern Alaska, the airstrip has long been a site of both triumph and tragedy. Bush pilots historically faced extreme conditions, flying small aircraft over vast, unmarked terrain, contending with sudden storms, snow, ice, and rivers that could block land travel for weeks. Many pilots lost their lives in accidents, leaving a lingering emotional imprint on the airfield. Ground crews, too, labored under difficult circumstances, maintaining aircraft in isolation, and often working through harsh winter nights. These combined stresses and the dedication of those who operated at Bethel Airstrip are believed to have created an enduring spiritual presence, manifesting today as ghostly planes, shadowy figures, and unexplained sounds. Witnesses often describe multisensory experiences at Bethel Airstrip. A pilot may see a phantom plane taxi along the runway while simultaneously feeling a sudden chill and hearing the distant roar of engines. Ground crews may observe tools moving on their own in empty hangars while perceiving shadows in peripheral vision and feeling subtle touches or pressure. Some report the faint scent of fuel, oil, or ozone in locations where no maintenance has been performed. These overlapping sensory experiences contribute to the impression that Bethel Airstrip exists simultaneously in both the present and the past, preserving the activities and routines of early aviators. Despite the unsettling nature of these phenomena, many who witness them approach with respect rather than fear. Pilots interpret the ghostly aircraft as protective guides, helping them navigate the airfield safely during difficult conditions. Ground crews often regard the shadowy figures as watchful guardians, ensuring that operations continue smoothly and that those on the airstrip remain safe. The hauntings are not seen as malevolent, but as enduring echoes of courage, skill, and dedication that continue to guide and watch over the living. Cordova Airport, located on the rugged coastline of southern Alaska, serves as a vital hub for a town isolated by mountains, glaciers, and the turbulent waters of Prince William Sound. By day, it is a busy gateway for fishermen, tourists, and supply flights, with small aircraft coming and going over the mountainous terrain and glacial valleys. Yet, as dusk falls and the weather closes in, Cordova Airport becomes a place of mystery, its quiet tarmacs and abandoned hangars giving rise to countless reports of paranormal activity. Pilots and visitors alike have described spectral figures moving silently through empty hangars, ghostly lights gliding along runways, and the echo of voices belonging to aviators long gone. These phenomena have made Cordova Airport one of Alaska's most intriguingly haunted aviation sites. The most frequently reported sightings involve ghostly figures. Pilots landing late in the evening often describe seeing shadowy silhouettes moving among the abandoned hangars or walking along deserted taxiway. These figures are rarely fully distinct. Instead, they appear as blurred or partially formed shapes that disappear when approached. Some witnesses claim to see the figures performing tasks familiar to those who know airport operations, checking aircraft, walking alongside planes, or signaling in ways that suggest they are preparing for a flight that never occurs. Security cameras occasionally capture fleeting shadows, slipping past hangar doors or moving across empty lots, only to reveal nothing on playback. The effect is unsettling, as though the airfield itself remembers the work of aviators long gone and manifests it in fleeting, spectral form. Another prominent phenomenon at Cordova Airport is the appearance of ghostly lights along the runway. Visitors report glowing orbs or flickering lights hovering above or near the tarmac, sometimes moving in patterns reminiscent of taxiing aircraft or landing sequences. These lights often appear in poor weather conditions, when fog, rain, or snow blankets the airfield. Pilots describe the lights as guiding, but unpredictable, sometimes retreating as the aircraft approaches, sometimes lingering just long enough to be clearly visible before vanishing. Locals believe these lights are linked to the spirits of pilots who lost their lives in the unforgiving Alaskan terrain, their presence lingering to aid or warn those who follow the same paths through sky and ice. Auditory phenomena often accompany these spectral sightings. Pilots have reported hearing faint cockpit chatter coming from aircraft that are not there, engine noises echoing across empty tarmacs, and footsteps in areas where no one is present. Ground crews have heard muffled conversations or commands exchanged in the distance, the voices of aviators calling to one another across the silent runway. Some describe the sensation of sudden chills or feeling watched while walking between hangars in the dead of night. The combination of sight, sound, and temperature fluctuations creates a multi-sensory experience, reinforcing the impression that Cordova Airport is haunted by the echoes of those who worked and flew there decades before. The history of Cordova Airport provides context for these strange occurrences. Established to serve a town dependent on fishing, shipping, and resource transport, the airport has long been essential to the survival of the region. Early bush pilots who navigated the surrounding mountains, glaciers, and treacherous waterways faced incredible danger. Flying small planes in unpredictable conditions, many lost their lives in accidents, leaving behind both sorrow and a concentrated emotional imprint on the area. Ground crews, too, worked long hours in harsh conditions, maintaining aircraft and supporting flights under circumstances that demanded vigilance, courage, and skill. It is said that the intense emotions of those who operated here, fear, dedication, and loss, have been absorbed into the airfield, manifesting today as ghostly figures, spectral lights, and mysterious sounds. Witness accounts often describe overlapping sensory phenomena. A pilot may see a glowing light glide along the runway, hear a distant engine roar, and feel a sudden drop in temperature simultaneously. Ground crews have reported seeing shadows pass through hangars while sensing a presence behind them and hearing faint, indecipherable voices. Some witnesses report the smell of fuel or oil in areas that have long been dormant, further heightening the sense of an active, unseen presence. These experiences suggest that Cordova Airport is not merely haunted visually, but exists as a nexus where the actions and emotions of the past continue to resonate. Despite the eerie manifestations, many who encounter these phenomena regard them with respect rather than fear. Ghostly lights are often interpreted as protective guides, helping pilots safely navigate the airfield under low visibility conditions. Shadowy figures are perceived as vigilant guardians, ensuring that planes and people move safely despite the isolation and unpredictability of the surrounding wilderness. The haunting of Cordova Airport is seen by locals as a tribute to the courage and skill of early aviators, whose lives were intimately tied to the airfield and whose presence continues to linger. The airport's remote location amplifies the otherworldly quality of these sightings. Surrounded by mountains and water, with long stretches of tarmac exposed to the elements, Cordova Airport feels suspended between earth and sky. Fog, rain, and snow frequently enshroud the area, blurring the boundary between the natural and the supernatural. In this liminal space, ghostly figures and phantom lights move almost as if they are a continuation of the airfield's daily functions, a reminder that the history of human endeavor and tragedy remains embedded in the landscape. You've wandered across icy tarmacs, deserted hangars, and fog-covered runways. You've glimpsed planes that vanish into the night, heard whispers through radios, and felt the presence of pilots who never truly left. Alaska's airfields are more than gateways to the sky. They are homes to restless spirits, tragic histories, and stories that refuse to fade. Next time you soar above the last frontier, remember, some pilots never land. Until next time, my night wanderers, keep your instruments close, your lanterns bright, and your courage steady. Good night.